And we're back. By now, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. You know what time it is. I've got Kenny Ken and DJB in the building. How we doing, fellas, man? Hope you're all good. Good afternoon. I think you guys are muted, or is it me?
Good afternoon.
Oh. All right, that's Kenny. DJB, let me just check. I can hear you.
I think he's muted.
Yeah, I think you're muted.
It's me. I'm
there you are. I was panicking for a second. I thought it was me. I saw both people talking. I was like, oh no.
Sorry, my friend. All good, man. All good. Busy day. Very early start this morning. Busy day. Not long been in, so looking forward to the show tonight, this afternoon, and big up the chat. And always happy to be here, my friend, alongside my right man, Kenny Ken.
We love to hear it. And like you said, my main man, Kenny Ken, what you saying, my guy?
I'm all good. It's been working. Obviously, I've been working from home. I've been distracted from work because the cricket's on. I know it's a swell.
Oh, it's cricket stuff again.
It's the World Test one-off Test Championships.
There's something on Saturday, isn't it?
No, it's today. South Africa have bowled out Australia for 211. It's 212.
What does that mean for us?
Has got 5 wickets, but this is a football show, not a cricket show.
It's post season, man. It's time for everything, man. So yeah. On the topic of football, guys, did you not watch England yesterday?
Oh God, do we have to?
We have to, man. We have to.
I watch the highlights. I can't get into England live on friendlies and not much in it tournaments. But obviously, I do watch when I can. I do watch the highlights, and it's just they're just in a process, aren't they? New manager, new ideas. So it's going to take some time to get used to things. But I do believe that we do put our players on a bit of a pedestal. I do believe I think we're a very overrated football nation, to be honest. And we tend to get carried away with our national team. And I think you just have to put a lid on it and see it for what it really is, to be honest.
I wish he was lying, man.
I totally agree with him. I think yesterday, Tuchel did warn the football fans, he warned his players that this game yesterday was going to be a very physical game, and it turned out to be like that. Senegalese players looked sharpish. A lot of them quite a few of them playing our league, and it was like they were really motivated. And even when they went a goal down through their own mistakes, they didn't panic. They said, "Yeah, let's have a go." They came to win. They haven't lost. They've been unbeaten in about the last 21 games or something.
What, Senegal?
Yeah, Senegal. And
wow.
England turned up as though they had a right to win that game. And then when it got physically hard, they just couldn't cope with the athletes and the Senegal players. And I thought the busier goalkeeper was 100% was Henderson. And he had to make some really, really good saves. It would have been a rout.
Yeah, not only that, I don't know. I just think it's a long season for a lot of the players. And, I'm not too sure whether they're wholeheartedly into these kind of friendlies. And, I can only judge them in big tournaments. I'll judge them in Euros and World Cups and that kind of thing. And that's where I am at with England. But I do think, as I said to you before, I do think there's this kind of high expectations from quite a average nation of footballers, really.
Why is that for you, DJB, man?
Sorry?
Why is that? Because I agree with you. I think we get carried away. I
think it's just our style of play. I think it's the league we play in, the Premiership. I think it's sort of embedded into our football players' mindset. If you look at the way we've been brought up how to play football, it used to be long ball, didn't it? Get the ball forward, pump it long, win the header, the flick-ons. We had that phase of English football. Now it's very possessional base, very robotic, staying in your position, making sure that you're tracking back, making straight lines all the time. I don't think our players, enough of our top players, play in situations where they can express themselves, where they're allowed to run freely, like we saw with Vitinha for PSG, like we see a lot of the Senegalese players yesterday. You know, they were getting the ball, running with pace. You know, a lot of our English players, when they play at the top clubs, they're not allowed to do that. You know, it's very kind of structured the way they play, and it's very hard to break that habit once they get into the national team. You know, it's like a mindset, isn't it? And you know, that's one of the reasons. Also, I don't think enough of our players play abroad. I think a lot of our English players would benefit playing in the Spanish leagues, the Italian leagues, and the Bundesliga, and even the French league. I think a lot of our international players would benefit with that. Technically, it's a completely different game. I just feel that a lot of our players don't want to go to that kind of side because the Premiership's supposedly the be-all and the end-all of football. I mean, I remember back in the day, a lot of our players would have been even better if they'd have played abroad. You know, I think we'd have been a better England team if a lot of our players had played on the continent, especially in the Italian league back in the 80s and 90s, you know. But yeah, it is what it is, and just hope that Tuchel can get the best out of them, and we get a good run in a big tournament. And you never know. You never know.
I'm concerned with the defense, man, if I'm honest with you. I think when we talk about England and everything, we'll probably center it around like the Fodens, the Palmers, the Sakas, etc., etc. You could say that in midfield. I don't believe in the defensive options, and I don't believe in the centre-half pairings. I just think we're in trouble, man. And I know the media's kind of coming on to Tuchel now and saying the honeymoon phase is gone. I don't necessarily believe that, but I do because I know he needs to test his players out and whatnot. But I think with that game yesterday, I don't think he was terrible, but the Curtis Jones right back stuff, all of them experiments has to stop. You need to settle on 11 and just keep it moving, man. Or it's looking bleak really next season. Where what is it? World Cup year? It's looking bleak.
Yeah.
Start,
definitely. No, go on, Kenny. Sorry, mate.
No, I think the thing about England is that, you know, what we've learned in the last few years is that they've got to grips with tournament football. But when they do get in the positions to win the tournament, especially finals and semis, against big sides, they just go over the top and they just look intimidated. You know, they don't go for the jugular. And you can only have to look at the two finals against Italy and Spain to see that, and obviously the semi-final against Croatia. I think the thing with English football at this moment of time is that there's a lot of good players to choose from. However, Tuchel's got to make his mind up, and he's got to make his mind up very, very quickly. You know, he's got to sort out the midfield, get someone who can take the play, centre halves. I think it's got to be, for me, it's got to be Gahey and another.
Wow.
Gahey looks apart at that level, and whoever partners Gahey, and then your left backs and right backs, you've got to make your minds up on your right back and your left back, and then settle for it. And then up top, you have to get someone else who can play up top if Harry Kane's injured. You can't just rely on Harry Kane. So he's got the players. I think where England are going to have problems is that I've always been an advocate of a midwinter break. I want the Christmas programme to be suspended.
No, Kenny, come on, man. Forget that, man.
All it got.
We need the Boxing Day period, man. I disagree.
It's a waste of time. It's an absolute waste of time. The football over Christmas is crap anyway. It's crap.
Yeah, but there's nothing like going to Arsenal on Boxing Day. Come on,
that's fine. But at the end of the day, you got the World Club Championships, plus you got an increased European Cup where there's eight games, and they're not group games, they're leagues, and then you've got the intensity of the Air Cup competitions, and then you know hopefully the top teams and the top players are going to get to finals and an intensive league, and then you're going to go to America, and you're going to wonder why. How comes they're not going full pedal at 40 degrees heat? How comes they're looking tired? Well, hello. World Cup Championships, pre-season at New Clubs. Then you've got a season, 8 Champions League games, not group games, all with intensity where you can't even afford to drop a point. And then you've got the league, then you've got the cups. You asked to play 12 months. Where's the our players? Where's the rest? Especially where a lot of the international teams, international players play for their countries, but they don't play the same. Their countries don't play the same intensity as England. You know, another thing as well, they play in slower leagues. So I say it once, say it 1,000 times. England have got to European finals, European Championship finals, and got further than normal in the World Cup, in spite of our programme. If you want to keep on seeing that, you've got to have a midwinter break. And the best time of a break is to copy the leagues of Europe and get rid of that Christmas programme. The Christmas programme is a nightmare for football fans, especially on Boxing Day, where you ain't got any bloody trains, but you still have
true. True.
Yeah, I agree.
What happens is that over Christmas, you got engineering works or packed trains, so they're charging double the price for the trains.
Yeah, they're putting up the
price. These football fans have got to go to these games. So once again, if you're going to behave like that, then give football fans a break, give the players a break, and get rid of that Christmas programme, because that's the best time to do it.
I'm not going to lie, Kenny, I can't disagree with that.
Basically, the 20th of December or the week ending the 20th of December is the last day of football, and then we return 2 weeks later. What's wrong with that?
Shut down. Yeah.
I can't disagree, man. You know what? Fair play, man. DJB is going to say something. He's going to say, my friend.
No, I agree, because Boxing Day this season, or last season now, whatever you want to call it, we didn't have a game for the first time in, I think the fixture was moved. And we didn't play Boxing Day. And I've got to admit, I thoroughly enjoyed it, because I didn't have to worry about, you know, disrupting family and rearranging dinner and everything else. You know, you just got up, chilled out, got over the Christmas Day. Family had some dinner, and it was chilled. And then we went the following day. It was on the 27th. So yeah, I agree with Kenny. I think to get the maximum amount of these players on an international level, we do need to try and sort out how we can give them the longest break and get rid of that. Yeah, get rid of that schedule over Christmas, because you've got Christmas, you've got New Year. Games are crazy, and as what Kenny said, I mean the Champions League format now. You know, they're playing a lot of games, high intensity games as well. So yeah, I think that could be one way to boost our international teams. You know, just get rid of that Christmas period. I think so. Definitely.
I'm not going to lie. Both of you are saying compelling points. Arthur's asked a decent question. Do you think most players value glory for their club teams over internationals? Where would you lot be with that? That would you rather win the World Cup with England, I guess, or the Champions League? Let's say the champs with Arsenal.
The English players do, but the foreign players that come to our country don't. Their country first. You see, you only have to see some of the performances. Some of the performances of the Senegalese players compared to what you see week in, week out, is night and day. Luis Diaz, I was watching
different player for Colombia.
Luis Diaz was a different player to what he is at Liverpool, and he's fantastic. He's brilliant, very good at Liverpool, but he was fantastic yesterday.
Well, yeah, I do you know what? I've been saying this for years. An international player, if you look at the international players, their first priority is country. They would win any tournament over a domestic cup for their club, 100%. Whereas a lot of our players, and even the fans, if you said to me Champions League Arsenal, World Cup England, I'd be...
You have to and ah.
I'd be like, oh...
I'd pick the World Cup, but just, man, because the World Cup...
I'd have to say World Cup, even though, there's a tough one, because I've never seen Arsenal win the Champions League. So
that's why I'm saying
I've never seen England win. I've never seen England win the World Cup, and to win the World Cup I would just probably edge to the World Cup, but it'll be a tough one.
It's a tough one, D, man. Like, oh,
yeah.
I'm really and ahhing. I'm leaning towards World Cup, but you just made a great point that Arsenal haven't won the Champions League, and it is the champs.
I mean, the thing is, right? What's more memorable? Do you remember England winning the World Cup, or would you remember longer Arsenal winning the Champions League? I don't quite know.
You probably go down in more glory and folklore if Arsenal win the Champions League, because I mean, yeah, everyone will give you a halo for England winning the World Cup.
But it's got to be the World Cup, DG, for me. It can't be Euros. If you're giving me Euros, if you're giving me Euros, I'm taking Champions League. You know.
Yeah, I'm with you with that.
It's got to be World Cup. Yeah, World Cup over everything. But Euros, no, I would take Arsenal winning the Champions League, and that's my point. You know, most international players would win Euros, would win the World Cup. Their fans, they all tend to kind of become united when it's their country. I mean, if you look at Portugal the other night when they beat Spain, you've only got to look at Ronaldo and for everything he's won, you've only got to look at him, and that's only the Nations League, but. You've only got to look at them players, man. I mean, they were beside themselves, you know.
Ronaldo was on the floor and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it means to them. It means so much to them. But I'm not sure whether we have the same. I'm not sure whether our players have the same mentality.
You're right, man. You mentioned Nations League, and it prompted me to ask you a lot of questions. Like, firstly, where do you lot view the Nations League? And do you lot think it's a bigger competition than the Copa America? Because that's the shouts I'm seeing on social media. I'm starting to see Nations League kind of rated, like it helps you to where the Ballon d'Or is concerned. I just think it's a glorified.
Typical Europeans. Europeans think that everything they do is better than everyone else. But one thing our fans in this country have got a point. The Nations League is going to be massive. The reason why it's always going to be massive is because the right teams are winning it. And what I say is the right teams winning it is it's the same thing with the World Club Championships. If the right teams win it, i.e. the big nations, then what will happen is that more teams will take it seriously. More crowds will come to these matches. If you look at the League of Nations games, all of those games were packed because the best teams are playing in those semi-finals and the finals, and they're winning it. And that's why I always have this motto. Competitions only get off the ground if the right teams win it. Now,
good point.
If and I say this respectfully, if anyone outside the big European nations will win it, say someone like Denmark will win the League of Nations, that wouldn't get out the ground. But Portugal won it twice, France have won it, and Spain have won it. All big European nations. The World Club Championships, Man City have won it, Chelsea have won it, Liverpool won it, all the Real Madrid win it regularly. That's why it's a big competition, and that's what I've been trying to say about the UEFA Cup final, so the Europa League final. The only people who didn't have a problem with the teams, the Europa League final, and the teams that participated in it were UEFA, because this is what they were after.
They
if
want
you want
bums on
to
seats.
Europa League final, and especially the new format, what better to have Man United and Tottenham in the final? Forget how bad they were in the league, but you've got Man United and Tottenham to the
to
biggest...
be fair though, Kenny, man, that's probably the worst European final.
You knew this. In England, we know this, but UEFA didn't care. You got Man United won the Champions League 3 times and won a Euro. They've won a Europa League, plus they won the Cup Winners' Cup. They're the biggest club in Europe, if not the world, alongside Real Madrid. And you've got Spurs, who are a massive club who've won 4 European titles now.
They ain't massive, man.
They're massive. Because
Kenny, we can't. This is an Arsenal channel. We can't give them their flowers, man.
So I'll tell you, massive. They finished 17th in the league, and they won 1 trophy. And they got nearly 300,000 people to go and celebrate that 1 trophy. Despite
it was mad.
Despite the fact they won a league, you live near the area. You couldn't even get in your car. You couldn't move. You couldn't move. It did not look like Tottenham. I'll give you that. It did not look like Tottenham. I mean, which other club?
Couldn't believe it.
Other club in England could do that when they finished 17th. They've won the...
People were scaling the scaffolding. Oh, my God.
You go through the... You go and look at Europe. They won 4 European trophies, more than us. They're massive, whether we like it or not.
So are Sevilla massive then? Like, because Emre's done all of that with them.
So but come on. When you talk about Sevilla isn't as big as Real Madrid and Barcelona and
They're bigger than Spurs. Well, you're giving Spurs too much credit, Kenny, man. Maybe I've got my agenda.
I'm just saying as it is. I'm saying it is. Let's not forget, Arsenal fans were calling the Samaritans 3 weeks ago because Spurs won the Europa League. So you can't call them a small club. You're either affected by Tottenham or not. You can't have the battle and say, "Oh, Spurs are a small club," and then they win something and you can't take it. You start going into calling the Samaritans or calling them the vice centres. That's what Arsenal fans were doing. Arsenal fans were having podcasts getting upset about Tottenham not winning the trophy. That's a fact.
We was
about winning the trophy. Fact.
Yeah, no, they. The word massive and Tottenham to me, I don't like putting in the same sentence.
However, it sounds like tautology. It sounds like
however, I understand where you're coming from, Kenny, because if you look at their European record compared to ours, then massive has to come into that. Man. You know, you can't brush it under the carpet because our European record compared to Tottenham's is not good at all. So you have to put that massive in there. But from the UEFA point of view, it was a dream come true. When you look at all them teams that were in the Europa League, that was a dream come true for them. Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Spurs, you know, big club in England and across Europe. It was a dream come true, and they wasn't worried about the performance. They was worried about the what it looked like, the PR point of view. They could fly their
TV viewing figures
and said it was a massive competition. But it's like all competitions. I remember when Greece won the Euros and Denmark won the Euros and everything else. I think you watched. I mean, I remember Denmark winning the Euros. They were called off the beach, weren't they? Because the Soviet or Yugoslavia got chucked out. I can't remember what it was, but they was called off the beach and they went and won it. And that had a kind of story to it. So that was kind of exciting. But on the whole, competitions are only as good as the teams that are in it, to be honest, I would say, and the teams that are competing in the final. But having said that, you got to be in it to win it. And none of it's a give me anymore. If you look at these smaller teams, even in the Champions League now,
they give you a problem.
If you look at these smaller teams in the Champions League, they'll all cause you problems on the day. If you're not on it and you haven't got it right, every team in that Champions League next season can cause you problems. And it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one to get out of the league, if you like. And I say out the league because I don't particularly want to hit the playoffs. That's a no-no.
More games.
I don't want playoffs because it's more fixtures. It's more chance of injury. It's another fixture you have to fit in on your schedule. It's going to be a tough one next season because a lot of these teams are strengthening, like in all areas, and they're strengthening big time. We need to get our finger out, I'm afraid.
We're gonna get into that. Lads, man. I do want to ask you lot. Yeah, I want to ask you lot some uncomfortable questions on the topic of Arsenal in Europe. Yeah, but the first thing I want to ask you lot would be actually, like, I remember Thomas Tuchel. He said some throwaway comments, and this was actually one I wanted to get you lot's thoughts. He was saying basically Liverpool and Arsenal have an advantage because we're not playing in the Club World Cup. All the other teams are, and that could make them favourites for the Premier League. How do you lot view that kind of rhetoric?
For me. It depends. It depends how serious and how much these teams want the Club World Cup.
100 million price tag, man. They got to take it seriously.
Yeah, it's big bucks for the owners. The owners, I would say get your finger out and go and win it. I think the manager's under more pressure than the actual team, to be honest, because the owners are going to be saying to him, I want £100 million. If you want to strengthen this team, that £100 million will go some way towards it. So, I always see, look, when you've played football, when you've been in football, every competition you go in, you want to win. Yeah. And they're professional footballers. They're going to want to win this tournament. But they've got big enough squads to rotate. They've got big enough squads to rotate players in the lesser games. I don't think it's going to take too much out of them, to be honest. It's not as if they've got small squads where they're playing the same 11 game in, game out, and then they go from there. They have a couple of weeks break, and then they're straight into pre-season friendlies, straight into the Premiership. They can rotate players. But again, some players don't need a rest. Some players can play all year round and still perform. There's some players that need that break, need that time to recharge. Some players just like to play. Like Declan Rice, he'll play every single day if you give him.
You have to pay him.
You know what I mean? So I don't think it'd be too much of a disadvantage. I can see where Tuchel's coming from, because he's saying it's extra game time. There's a risk of injuries, but they're big squads. Chelsea have got a lot of players to choose from. Man City can rotate players. So I don't think that's going to be a problem come next season. I really don't think it's going to be a problem. Will they take it serious? As I said, I think it means more to the owners than what it does the actual players. For the players, it's probably like, oh, God, I'd sooner be on the beach with my wife or my girlfriend or my kids. It's more football. A lot of the players are probably thinking, oh, God, when you get up in the morning and you sometimes think to yourself, oh, no, don't fancy it this morning.
Don't fancy it today.
You're going to have I think some of the players will be feeling that, they'll be going, oh, God, here we go again, another tournament, But having said that, if you're in it, you want to win it, obviously. The fans would want to win it. Again, it's another trophy, it's another competition. But No, I don't think it'll affect them too much going into the season. I still think Man City, with the players they've signed, I think they're going to be strong next season. I think Liverpool will be strong next season. I think the Premiership will be a lot stronger next season. You've got teams that have come up from the Championship. Leeds, big club, horrible place to go.
Leeds away is not nice.
Ellen Road is a horrible place to go for fans and very intimidating place.
Right on top of the players.
Oh, man, honestly, it's a tough place to go and get 3 points at any time. So, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough next season.
It's going to be dark, man. How do you view that, Kenny, in relation to the Club World Cup?
Well, it's about money, isn't it? They all want to be involved because all want to be involved because of the money it makes. It's bringing in so much money. Although they are struggling with ticket sales.
Yeah, I saw that.
They're stupidly put them overpriced. I think they've learnt their lesson that they've got to slash the prices. But I think with the Club World Cup, the thing about it now is that the sports scientists they're gonna be very, very busy. Man City with the fact that they spent so much money in getting players in. Obviously, they're going to want to win this tournament. So are Chelsea, so are Real Madrid and everyone else. But they want to use this tournament as fitness practice. So when they do start it, instead of having a pre-season, when they do, play their football in August, they're fresh and ready to go. All the players that they're getting through is all about operation. Get the
how quickly can you settle in?
Yeah, and I think that's what they've done by getting them in. These players in now for the mini, like I said, transfer deadline, and also their activity in January. I think they feel they're going to be good to go because last season was humiliating for Man City. Their teams were coming, even to the Etihad and winning, or whenever they go goal up, they'll end up losing 3-1 or by 3 or 4 goals. So
most beatable I've ever seen City in many a year.
He's not that, and Liverpool as well. Liverpool have got out tracks pretty quickly because at the end of the day, they know that the players that they want, they're going to have competition from clubs like Chelsea, Man City, Man United, and us. So they're coming out of tracks pretty quickly. So I think that they know if they want to retain their title, they've got to start quickly again. But I think if you're going to see an effect on Chelsea and Man City, you'll probably see an effect by probably Christmas, because that you won't see it immediately, but during the season there will be an effect. You would have thought so. That's why it's imperative that Man City have a massive squad and that they have what they normally have, 2 players for every position.
Based on what you lot are saying there, I can't lie. It feels like we're actually at a disadvantage because, you know, I'd rather us be in it. I know you got to qualify for your European heritage, and, you know, we all know Europe's been filled with pain from us, but it would have maybe forced us to get our signings in early, either so they can play in the Club World Cup or, like you lot have alluded to, other people getting involved. It's almost such of a pre-season. It almost feels like we're at a disadvantage then in that regards, man, if I'm completely honest with you. I wanted to ask you lot, before we talk about signings and all of that, I wanted to ask you lot, like, why is it? Because obviously you lot are older than me. I'm 30. I've seen us, you know, lose a Europa League final, Champions League final. We've been a joke in the champs. Why is our European pedigree, let's be honest, horrible? Like, it's filled with more pain for fans young and old than any kind of joy. Like, what is our issue with Europe? Like, there's been plenty of competitions and we ain't done the business. Like, why have we got this stigma with us?
A lot of it's been game management in big games. It's been game management on the day. You know, we've had the players. I'll go back to when we should have won the Champions League, when we had the likes of Henry and everything. The simple factor is it's fine moments in big games. You know, and you've either got at the moment you've either got the managers that know how to handle that and know what to do at key points. And unfortunately, even as great as Wenger was, there was mistakes made on that day. You know, people say about the Perez and people like that. Obviously, the sending off didn't help, and the referee, as much as I don't want to go down that route, but
don't remind me, man.
Yeah. It still breaks me heart even now thinking about
13 minutes from winning.
It's just moments. See, when you're in Europe, you don't get many. See, if you go back to the old format, you had to win it to be in the competition. And then even in the lesser competitions, it was just a mentality thing. A lot of it's mentality, and it's where your priorities lie as well. It's the players' mentality. It's fine moment. It is fine moments on the day, and everything has to be right. And I'll go back to this season against PSG. You know, when things were going against us, you had to gamble. Sometimes you have to gamble in Europe. You have to take chances. You can't structurally play the same way as you do in the league. You have to take chances. You have to try something different. What you have to do is try and bamboozle the other coach. You know, you have to do something really, really wild. If you look at these big teams that win these European Cups, like even Real Madrid, they'll do something in the game, like, and you think, hang on a minute, Vinicius Junior's gone into the centre here. Where's he going? Who's the left back?
There's a randomness.
He's got
and mentality, as you said.
He's playing down the middle. And you're thinking, like, what's happened here? You have to do this. Whereas a lot of the times we've played the same way. We think we can get through how we perform in the league. We think that will carry us through in Europe, and it doesn't. Even if you look at Spurs this season, Ange has been playing free-flowing football. You score 4, we'll score 5. He shut up shop. He scored his goal, and he was 2 banks of 4.
He was humble in the Europa League final.
He was 2 banks of 4, and he was going to Man United. Well, okay, then come on in, you break it down. I've never seen that from Spurs under Ange. Never see it. But this is what you have to do in Europe. You have to be cute. You have to be brave. You have to take chances. And unfortunately, you know, managers of the past, especially this present manager, he doesn't take chances. He'll play the same way. He doesn't try anything different. And you have to do that. You have to do that. You know, there was signs where the players were playing with a bit more freedom against Real Madrid. We didn't go toe-to-toe with them. We kind of changed it a little bit against Real Madrid. But then PSG, we went back to the same old how we was playing, you know, and it doesn't work. That's one of the reasons. Another reason is you've got to have the squad at the time. You've got to have the players.
Facts.
You have to have quality in your team to get over the line in Europe. Every position, you know, you've got to have a quality, high quality midfield player. You need a striker. I still say it now. There's not many teams that win big competitions without a number 9. You cannot go and win a European Cup without a striker. You just can't do it. You know, you might on the odd occasion, you might do it, but on the whole, you know, law of averages.
Superstars, man.
Law of averages. Superstar. You need that. You need that influence in midfield, and I mean a creative player in midfield, like PSG had for Tinia this year. And you need a solid striker. And if you haven't got that, then you can't normally win European titles. But having said that, we had George Graham with the team he had against a fantastic Parma team that won it. But then George Graham had that nous. Man rocked up with Nigel Winterburn playing as a holding midfield player. Who'd have thought that? There you go. There's your gamble, young people. There's your gamble.
This is why these two are here. Educational for you lot, people.
Nigel Winterburn at one point playing as a holding midfield player. Bamboozled the opposition. They didn't know how to. Thomas Brolin was taken out of the game. Didn't know how to handle it. And this is what I'm saying. You have to take chances. And unfortunately, Mikel Arteta does not take any chances. He doesn't gamble.
Fair play. Kenny, what's your input?
Well, I second what DJB says, because you've got to think about the situation right now. Is that George Graham and Bertie Mee remain the only managers to win in Europe. You think about our record in Europe. We've got
horrible, man.
We've got the Champions League final. We've got 2 European Cup Winners' Cup final, and we've got to 2 Euro. We got to a UEFA Cup final and a Europa League final, and that's it. That's it. That's it. And I second what what DJB says as well. It's not just Mikel. It's not Unai. It was Wenger as well. You think about those great sides.
Something with our club in Europe, man.
You think about those great sides we have with Arsene Wenger. You think about how we actually penalised ourselves. We actually penalised ourselves in the first 2 years.
Invincible season, Champions League. I maintain we should have won it that year. I'll be real.
Yeah, but even so, do you remember the first 2 seasons when we were in the Champions League in 98, 99 and 99, 2000? We played our home games at Wembley. Do you remember that? That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. It was all because UEFA and money dictated that we couldn't. They said that there wasn't enough. Highbury wasn't big enough in order for the UEFA to get all the their advertising boards in the ground.
It's been about money from back then, folks.
Yeah. So basically, all the games had to play in Wembley. So guess what? All the teams that came to Wembley thought, "Whoa! I wouldn't say nothing to that. Barcelona, Fiorentina. Before that, it was Dynamo Kiev and even Lons. Oh, I love that. All raised their game. Out we went, and then we returned to the games in Highbury. And I second what DJB says as well, is that we had the players, but that team was built for the Premiership. That team was built to compete with Man United and compete with Man United only. In Europe, especially in the knockout stages, we had players and teams that were as good as us, but they managed tactically were better than Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger was that manager said, right, I don't need to tell you how to play football. You have to work out yourself. In Europe, you need someone who's tactical that is going to...
Like he said, you've got to be cute and clever.
Even that. We weren't watching the opposition. The opposition were watching us. And that was the thing of Arsene's reign. And then in 2004, when we should have got it right, we underestimated Chelsea. And that was it.
That's why I'm angry.
Man United in 2009, Man United was too experienced for us, too good. Even though, that's it. But Man United were the better side. They had more experience. They were European Cup holders, so we're never going to. It was always going to be a struggle. And then let's talk. The only time we actually looked like we could win it was in 2006. What happened? We got all the way to the final, and then
13 minutes.
We got one of the worst referees of all time, who basically should be put in jail for that. For that.
Awful. Absolutely awful.
But let's face it, that's our record in Europe. It's embarrassing, tactically. When it comes to the crunch, especially the Champions League in the last 2 years, our midfield just hasn't been good enough to win the Champions League. Even in the Europa League under Arteta, we play teams that just wanted it more. We're better than us tactically, especially Unai Emery's Villarreal side.
Oh, mate, Smith Rowe in the semi-finals. Man.
Still, it's just that in Europe, you just know Arsenal. You feel that Arsenal can't win a trophy in Europe. Just feel it.
That's why I asked you, like, there's got to be something because, go on, Dee, man, go on. Like, there's got to be something, man.
As I said, me and Kenny are just rebounding off of one another because we're both in agreement with this European thing. It's mentality. It's being brave. It's having the manager at the time to change things up, and it's playing two different ways. When you get to the latter stages of European competitions, you have to play completely different to how you play in the league. And there was a comment saying about Arteta couldn't change it up against PSG because a lot of his players were in hospital. And what I'll say about that is this was the lineup against PSG: Raya, Timber, Saliba, Kivior, Skelly, Partey, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Marino. On the bench was Tierney, Zinchenko, Trossard, Sterling. So I'm sorry, but the only players really that was missing was Havertz and Gabriel. So again, making excuses does not bring you progress, I'm afraid.
Are we too romantic when it comes to Europe, feel? Because I think we are.
I think it's getting to the stage now where the Arsenal history, the players, every player that comes through the ranks in Arsenal, every player that joins Arsenal are aware of how desperate we are for European success. And I think that puts added pressure on the players. And this is what I'm saying about next season, because we've gone so long now without a trophy, without a major trophy. The bar's been raised. There's a lot of fans saying, I won't settle for a Carabao Cup and FA Cup. We should be winning the Premiership and Champions League. Well, we should have been winning that last year and the year before. I just want a trophy now, because you've got to have a starting point for these players. You've got to have somewhere where these players can aspire to go on to the next level. And we haven't had a springboard. We haven't had nothing like that. These players don't know what it's like to run out into a final. They don't. The only player with Arsenal, I'm not saying Rice and other players that have won with other clubs, but with Arsenal, the only player that's had success is Saka, and he was on the bench in the FA Cup.
On the bench, yeah.
So, we can't disrespect the FA Cup and Carabao Cup because these players need a foundation to build onto, to go into.
To get familiar with success
and the Premiership. You can't turn around and say, we don't want the FA Cup and Carabao Cup. We're not in that position.
We ain't got that luxury.
We haven't got that luxury.
I never want to hear my club say that.
And we've put ourselves in that position. No one else has put us in that position. We've done that ourselves. Right. So, you can't dismiss them cups next season. You can if we've already won Premierships and Champions League and we're going to retain them, and we've got credit in the bank, but we haven't. And it'd be very kind of disrespectful for us to diminish them cups. Mikel Arteta has to take those competitions seriously next season. He has to.
We want all the cups, man. We need to walk home with some. And I know right now everybody's saying like a cup, a trophy's a trophy. People are using, Crystal Palace, Newcastle as a stick to beat us with. And I'm not an idiot. I do know if we only win the League Cup and the FA Cup, people are going to say it's not the major ones. But I agree with DJB and Kenny Ken in that we need to win something. You need some sort of leg to stand on. I do personally believe if we was picking up League and FA Cups along the way, there'd still be questions about the champs and the Prem about why we can't. But you kind of give yourself a security net. I don't think we've done that essentially. And next season, the gloves will be off, man. Like, I don't know if we have a season similar to now where you got 2 semi-finals, you went out the FA Cup on penalties and you finished second. I don't know if that's enough for the board to say, do you know what?
It'll be enough for some facts.
It would be, but is it going to change anything, Kenny? I can't come on.
I think first and foremost, I'm one of those.
There's always context.
Well, the only context for me is that, for me, the most important trophy to win is the league, because without dispute, without any argument, you're the best. You had to, endure every discipline, every test. Where most of the time you have to play really well. Most of the times you have to dominate the opposition. But there's going to be some times where you don't play well, but you still have to get a point. You still have to avoid defeat. You still have to win.
There's about 5-6 games like that season,
and that's why the league tests every aspect of your ability, mentality, and everything. Especially where you've got to win sometimes, where you have injuries. You've got to win where you might have to prioritise the Champions League because you play during the red zone. But that's the league. But in terms of the Champions League, it's very prestigious, and I respect the fact it is prestigious on the basis that we haven't won the Champions League before. If you look at the roll honour of teams who won the Champions League, they're the biggest clubs in Europe. But on another side of the coin, Nottingham Forest have won it twice. Aston Villa have won it. Dortmund won it once. PSG have just won their first European Cup.
Chelsea, City, PSG, and Chelsea do it in my lifetime before us, and these clubs weren't looked at.
You notice I put Chelsea in that category because when I grew up, I was only used to Liverpool winning it. I was only used to Real Madrid winning it, or being talked about as one of the big teams. I was only used to seeing Juventus win it and Bayern Munich. So, in that respect, I understand the prestige of the Champions League, but I say it now. The reason why we didn't win the Champions League last year, it was nothing to do with not having a striker. It's because PSG did the disciplines better than us. In midfield, they won the midfield battle comfortably. They controlled the tempo of both games. If you think about Arsenal over 180 minutes, we're probably in the ascendancy for only half an hour of those two games.
You said that last week, and I think you're right. I watched both games again. You have
to be honest. Look how hard.
Why? I don't know.
He worked off the ball.
What are you doing to yourself, man?
You look at that. But in terms of Arsenal winning a trophy, what it'll do is give Arteta more time. I think University fans went, all right, let's give him another year.
Because you've got a leg to stand on now.
Yeah, because he's got a leg to stand on. But the thing is,
peg.
We need to get out of this mindset that, it's calling the FA Cup a secondary trophy. How can the FA Cup be a secondary trophy where the reason why the FA Cup is one of the biggest competitions in the world is not because it's watched by all corners of the world, and the fact that when we're young, it was basically an event where it started at 9 o'clock in the morning and ended about 5 o'clock. It's because if you look at our FA Cup, every other country in Europe has copied our format. They have their final in a major stadium in a neutral venue where one side is Barcelona, one side is Real Madrid, one side is Juventus, one side is Internazionale, one side is Bayern Munich, one side is Dortmund. So they have copied our format. So that's how big the FA message has been spread around Europe. The League Cup as well. Look at Newcastle. How they haven't won a domestic trophy for nearly 70 years. Look how they're going on. They're going to use that as a springboard. The fact is, a trophy is a trophy. The only reason why people do down the FA Cup is because of people on a dubious channel where a dubious ex-footballer called that dubious man Arsenal's biggest supporter. What a load of crap. But it's because of people like that that the FA Cup get diminished. It's not because of the way the Champions League's been viewed. It's because of people calling it washed because Man United won it. And they said, look at Man United, that's a small trophy. It's because of the banter, and people are copying it. These competitions are still massive. The FA Cup's still massive. The League Cup's still massive. We were desperate to win that League Cup. We went at it, played our best teams in both legs, but we got beaten by a better team. Liverpool put out their full side in the final. So when people say League Cup and the FA Cup isn't a big competition, we'll tell that to Mick Arteta. Look at the team he selected in the League Cup.
I wish I could disagree with what you said there, man. And I think we just need to win trophies, man, because again, I think it's a fair conversation that we've been flirting with it. You finished second in the league a couple of times. You've got to semi-finals. You've actually improved in the last 2 years in the Champions League. It's a fair question. And I don't know about you guys, and I know no club is perfect, but for me, it's the sense that we don't do all that we need to do. We kind of half do serious things, half move unserious, and then it's just a mixed bag. And we do this whole what if that happened, what if this happened, etc. Personally, I think there needs to be silverware. I did want to ask you lot, yeah, like obviously, if I share my screen, 1 second, guys. You know, you're seeing what Man City are doing. You're seeing Liverpool get verts. Is it too early for us to panic? Like, should we be panicking? Because many people thought Andrea Berta might change things. We might be making signings. It feels like we're the only club like not doing anything right now.
Well, the frustrating thing for me is when, okay, let's take Zubimendi first of all. Zubimendi was done in January, February. You know, it was, oh, he's coming to Arsenal. We've got Zubimendi. It's a done deal, contracts, verbal agreement, everything's in place.
All the
medical the other week, he was meant to be having a medical the other week, and the guy was walking along the beach. So I'm getting to the 1st of June, and I'm thinking, yo, where's this Zubimendi then? Where's the pictures? Where's Win the Dog and Arteta and you know, the shirt being held up and the Arsenal fans getting all excited with this Zubimendi sideways backwards player, you know? And it got to the 1st of June and I'm thinking, where is he? What's happening? This guy was on board back in January, February. And then the Zubimendi man's coming out with, oh, Real Madrid, Xavi Alonso, he's this, he's that. And then I'm thinking, hang on a minute, are you holding out for Real Madrid to come in? Because if you don't want to play for Arsenal,
let us know.
See you later. I only want players at this football club that want to play for us. I don't want a second fiddle, you know. And now, apparently, it is a done deal. And we're not going to announce it till July because they want payments in their bank for next season. I don't know whether that's to do with PSR or whatever.
It's the new spin.
Yeah. So that's the Zubimendi thing. So once again, we've been led down the garden path and sort of like the gates locked at the end of it, you know? And then you look at Sesko. We was linked with this guy last year. Arteta wants this man. Yeah, but Mikel, you got Goalkeeper rocking up with 68 goals in over 2 seasons in Europe and 19 assists. Don't care, I want Sesko. Yeah, but Mikel, we've got like Osimhen as well. Like he's no. I want Sesko. Okay. This is the man you want. Why do you want Sesko? Can you like nurture? Can you like turn him into a player like you did Jesus because you played with him against Man City? That he never turned him into. Make him prolific. No. So now you've got the Sesko links and everything else, and that now is kind of, are we? Ain't we? Are we? Ain't we? Saudi coming in for him, and there'd be other clubs coming in for him. It's just a merry-go-round with this football club, and I thought Berta coming in was just going to stop all this nonsense. So I was starting to kind of lean towards Berta, going, "Come on, man, what are you doing? You bought in to put him in say to Arteta, look, leave it to me. You get on with the coaching."
You do the football, I'll do the transfer.
You do the football, I'll do what I'm employed to do. And he hasn't done it. But then Berta's got other things to sort out. And then when I was
many a plate in his hand.
Yeah, when I was looking into it, I'm thinking people are going to get on Berta's case for all these signings. But when you think about it, he's got to sort out contracts. He's got to sort out the wage structure that's horrific at our football club. Kai Havertz, 280 grand a week. Gabriel Jesus, 250 grand a week.
Probably find schooling for his kids
Tommy
as well.
Asu, 100 grand. Tommy Asu, 100 grand a week, up until recently, was on the same as Gabriel. Yeah? I know you don't like hearing facts, people, but delve into the wages at Arsenal. It's all on there. You can have a look at them. It's horrendous. Absolutely horrendous.
£100 a week for 6 Premier League
We
minutes.
had Kivior going from 10 grand a week on his previous club to like 50 grand a week. Make it make sense. You know what I mean? And this is what Bert has got to sort out. So I'm thinking to myself, he's probably saying to Arteta, right, these are the players you were linked with before I come to the club. You get on with it. If that's who you want, I'll try and push the deals through. Right? What you got to remember is if Sesko comes in and Zubimendi comes in, they are Mikel Arteta's players that he wants. So I don't want to hear this about, oh yeah, but it's not what he wanted. He don't have say what players come into the club. This is his squad. All these players at this football club that he's won no trophy with on £15 million a year are all his signings. Sesko is an Arteta signing.
At this point, even the guys that are not that weren't brought in by him.
Exactly. Zubimendi is an Arteta signing. Yeah. And if he doesn't get over the line next season, there's no more excuses. No more. Don't want to hear about injuries. Don't want to hear about red cards. Don't want to hear about the board ain't backed him. Because another thing what you've got to realise as well is by the time this window shuts, this manager has had over £1 billion. You name me any manager at any top club that's had a 5-year unsackable contract, won no major trophy, and would have had £1 billion spent on it. So I don't want to hear no excuses next season. And I'm like Kenny. I'll go watch matches. I've renewed my season ticket. The pressure is on, guys. And if you don't like hearing facts, go somewhere else, because they are the facts. And I don't know what this club is doing in the transfer market, because Man City have moved quick, Liverpool have moved quick, and to rub salt in the wounds, Manchester United, who everyone's been mocking, and by the way, whether you like it or not, are one of the biggest clubs in the world, bigger than Arsenal, will always be bigger than Arsenal. That's facts. Yeah, have gone and signed their players quickly. We was linked with Sesko a year ago. We had
2 years ago even.
We had Zubimendi so-called signed in the, back in February. They get linked to Cunha. Within 1 week, he's signed.
That stuff makes me a bit jealous. I know I shouldn't look at it like that, but I
don't understand it. It is typical Arsenal Football Club. We've always dragged our heels over signings. We've always shopped. We've never gone out and got the best in class. We're always looking for bargains. And Sesko, to me, is a gamble. He's a young player. He's a gamble. He's 22 years of age.
I hear you, but let me be devil's advocate, DJB. If Arsenal have wanted him for about 2 years, if he's been talked about in footballing circles about having this potential, if they've done their due diligence and this is his man, I agree with you in that everything's a gamble. Could you argue, and they're prepared to actually commit more to signing Sesko than Gyökeres, could you argue that this, at least where Arsenal are concerned, they think this is more full safe or more of a sturdy investment than a Gyökeres then? And he's obviously got the upside.
I'll spin it on its head, right? If Sesko comes to the football club, he's going to be a young striker, right? With no Premiership pedigree, no English football experience. And he's playing in a team with no real creative midfield players other than Odegaard.
Odegaard will be back, bro. Don't worry. Next year he's back. I see him.
Other than Odegaard, there's no creativity, right? The way we play football lately is slow, sideways, and everything else. If this man likes running in behind and he relies on service,
Arteta has to arrest a lot tactically, regardless of who gets brought in. That's what I think.
All I'm saying is, no striker. Signing a striker is better than no striker, because at the moment we have not got any striker.
You're gonna love this guy, D man. Trust me, you're gonna love this guy.
Yeah. If this guy comes in and lights the place up, all fair enough. But you're missing one key point here. Arteta loves Kai Havertz. And Kai Havertz has got to be put in the team somewhere.
That I agree. That's going to be an issue.
I'm telling you now, this Sesko guy might not even be starting the starting 11 come the start of the season.
He needs to be, man. I've not got time for the play thing. Like the new striker, whether it's him or Joker,
he does need to be DG. But we're talking.
But I agree with you.
We're talking Mikel Arteta, aren't we?
That's where I think you're right. We're talking
Mikel Arteta. So Mikel Arteta will find a way to get Havertz in the side. Right? So I think Sesko coming in will be on a rotation. I think you'll see him rotate quite a bit with Havertz. If he brings Goalkeeper in the team, fans will be saying, hang on a minute, why is Havertz getting in ahead of Goalkeeper?
I think he'll still do that.
Well, yeah. But I just...
If he's, like you said, DJ, if he still loves him, he loves him, innit? I think the only thing that might change things is, I've already said, my hot take is, I personally think you're going to see a lot more of Kai Havertz in some level of a midfield role. I can just see David Raya lumping it long to Kai and then working off the flick on with Sesko. I want to ask Kenny something. Yeah, Kenny, do you obviously we probably all want the Jokeres. We all want win now. We're all very impatient. That's nothing to do with Sesko in the sense that this man is 22 years of age. Fans aren't going to hear that. Do you feel like he's unfortunate in that regards, in that fans, even the most normal fan can see, you know what, he's 22, I'll give him time, but we're impatient, win now mode, there's pressure on the club and Arteta. Do you feel it's kind of harsh for Sesko in that regards?
I think he's that bothered. I'll tell you why he shouldn't bother, because he was meant to be coming to the club last season. No one in the media was mentioning Jokeres. Not one person last season. It was all Sesko. Agreement was made for him to come, and then the agreement at the 11th hour was for him to stay at his football club for another year, because obviously he knew that he'll play more games at Leipzig. He'll still be the spearhead, but now, after a season, the club have gone of maintaining its interest, and Sesko's a long-term target. And unfortunately, when people talk about Berta, he's come to a club where deals are already in place for Sesko and Zubimendi.
Just got to get them over the line.
And it's the same at the football club to get them over the line. But in terms of like the Goalkeeper thing, the Goalkeeper thing has been mentioned because of he's been added to the mix because of the situation regarding how many goals he scored in the last couple of seasons. Obviously, Berta's come to the club. We know Berta's got contact books of the best players in Europe. Look how he assisted Simeone at Atletico Madrid, and look at the fact that not only has he got good players, he sold them for a song, and they've gone on to make big waves at big clubs in Europe. So it's not just the fact that he's got successful players; he sold them as well. Thomas Partey being one of those players. You think, and if you take away Berta, before Berta's a club, Atletico Madrid have always produced a player that not only has done well at Atletico Madrid, they've gone elsewhere.
Griezmann, well, to be fair, that's Sociedad, but same thing.
Diego Costa, one of those players. Torres, Falcao, was a big star. I know he had limited success. Aguero, the biggest one of them all. So that's where Berta comes in. Unfortunately for Berta,
they're saying, did he stand João Felix?
I'll say it once. Me and DJB and Jez had a conversation.
Big up Jez, man. I need to get him on.
You're not going to see Berta's ability till probably the next year or 18 months.
I was just going to say, Berta will come into his own January onwards.
Exactly, and the reason
he's not ruffling too many feathers. He knows He knows what Mikel Arteta's already lined up, and he's going to let him do it.
He's not going to interfere. He's not going to interfere and change the narrative. The fact is, another thing as well, it's harsh. It's harsh on a lot of fans, and they're not going to like what I'm going to hear. This mini transfer window has got nothing to do with Arsenal. had nothing to do with us.
What do you mean by that?
And what I mean by that is that this transfer window was designed to assist clubs in the World Club Championships. It was to assist Real Madrid in order that they can get trains on early enough registered. So, basically get him registered so he can play in this tournament. It was to assist Man City in getting their players in so they can have a go at winning this tournament. It was there to assist Chelsea getting Liam Delap. That was nothing to do with us. Don't get me wrong. It didn't mean we didn't have to participate, but essentially our work, our transfer work is basically, in my opinion, got to start in July, and that's where we're going to get our targets over the line. I generally.
So then, are we panicking then? Like, because I agree with that, Kenny, but are we panicking? Should we all be cool then?
We're not panicking as such. We've got every right to expect this transfer window is designed for the clubs that are participating in the League of Nations. Sorry, in the Club World Championships doesn't mean we can't participate. Man United, stole a march. Liverpool stole a march. All I'm saying is that Arsenal do things differently to a lot of football clubs. We don't get we simply get our players in just in time for pre-season, and then if we need to get further business done, we'll use every minute of the last 11th hour of the transfer deadline. That's how Arsenal do things. That's why
Berta's not going to have that.
But I don't think Berta. Well, Berta's only just got here. It's good. The only time you're going to see change is probably going to be in the next year or so. He's just got here, and anyway, his job isn't just about getting players over the line. It's about getting players out of the club and getting.
Yeah, he's got to sell a lot, mate. He's got to flog a lot.
He's got a big job.
He's got his work cut out. It's not. Listen, take away the league position. Take away the league position, Arsenal. Right. Take away finishing second and everything's like. Look at the nitty gritty. Look at the players we have at the club that are not good enough. Look at the players at the club we need to get out. Look at the wages that some of the players that are on that other clubs are not prepared to take on. Jesus ain't going to go anywhere now other than Saudi because no other club's going to want to pay his wages.
There's rumours we're going to give him a renewal.
Say no more. I don't need to say no more, mate. You know what I mean?
Hey, man.
Right. This is typical Arsenal, isn't it? There's rumours that we're giving Jesus a renewal, but we're stumbling over Thomas Partey.
Yeah.
You tell me where that sense comes from because I don't know where it's coming from. To be honest,
when you find it, let me know. I don't know.
You know what I mean? So see, and then when we ask these questions, we get told like, "Oh, negative," and this, that, and the other. But it's a fair comment, isn't it? How can you be thinking of giving Jesus an extended contract and a renewal, and yet we're scratching our heads? Oh, Thomas Partey, should we let him go? What do you think we should do? Oh, I don't know, really. Come on. Kieran Tierney, we bombed out for free, and yet we're stumbling, the only natural left back that we have at the club. And yet we're sort of like gassing up Jesus and thinking about giving him a renewal that's had 3-4
crazy, man. I don't know where we go from here. I'm
just putting it out there, you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's madness. No other club would do this. It's silly. But listen, if Sesko comes in, I'll be happy because to me it's a striker. It's a striker.
That's where I'm at. I just want to say
it's an upgrade on Havertz, who's a midfield player, by the way, not a striker. Even though some fan base will say we've only got 3 midfield players. No, we haven't. Skelly's a midfield player. He's not a left back. He's left back by default because of injuries. He was thrown in at left back by default. He's a midfield player, and that's where I think he should be nurtured next season. I think we could save money by turning him into an attacking midfield player.
Yeah, but it's Rice, Zubimendi, Odegaard. Assuming Zubimendi walks through the door, Partey as well.
Exactly.
You wouldn't see Lewis Skelly. Maybe the occasional cup game, but you're not seeing him.
Possibly. But, there's an opportunity there. Havertz is a midfield player, not a striker. Marino is not a number 9. He's a midfield player. So we have got midfield players. Party's there.
At least for now.
We have got midfield players. So this notion that we've only got 3 midfield players is not right. It's factually not right.
So then what are you lot saying for Gyökeres? Because I see some people in the comments, they're very excited for me to ask this. I told them we're going to get to it. I don't know.
He's not coming to Arsenal. He's not.
You reckon he's having a meeting? His agent's having a meeting, Kenny? It could.
Look.
I've got more chance to play with Chelsea, DG.
I don't know for the source CNN Portugal. I've never heard that source quoted before.
There's absolutely no way he's.
Mikel doesn't want him, so he's not coming.
I'd be surprised. He'll leave. Sporting Lisbon, because I know there'll be a club that either going to activate the clause or pay the asking price. But I'll tell you one thing now: it won't be Arsenal Football Club, because the simple reason is that Mikel Arteta, his first and only choice is Sesko. Last season, I suspect the reason why Arsenal
prepared to go on strike, by the way.
Well, you know why? You know why I think Arsenal didn't get a striker in last season? Because they couldn't get this guy, Sesko.
Yeah, 100%. They couldn't convince him that he'd play more than Kai Havertz, which is mad. But then if you're a proper striker, why are you scared of Kai Havertz? I might not be able to rate you then.
I'll tell you why. Because is Mikel Arteta, and this is like aided by supporters in the media. Some of them are podcasters that you've met at Talk Sport.
He loves that. He loves it.
I'm just telling the truth. I'm saying it is. I don't want a job in the media. I've got a job.
I have you not on my platform because you speak from the heart.
I'm not here to make friends. You know, if they don't want to talk to me again, that's their problem. I'll live. But I'm just saying as it is. Kai Havertz is seen as tactically important. I see him as tactically disruptive, but they see him as tactically important because they believe he can. If you play him up top, he can play with his back to goal. He can be a good target man. If you play him just behind the strikers, he can play that way. He can run the channels, and also he can play in the midfield. So that's why they call him tactically important, and that's why Arteta sees him as tactically important. That he feels that he has to have this guy in and around his team. In any other position, either be in midfield or up top.
I hear you, but is he wrong though with that? Because at the end, rightly or wrongly, what if he just likes Kai Havertz? Is every manager reserved the right to just like their players?
Kai Havertz. If you think about Kai Havertz, and you have to, if you be honest with yourself, and if you want to sort of just go by his performances, they haven't been that bad. They haven't been spectacular. He's had a fair season for us in the last 2 years. However,
he just shouldn't have bought him.
That's not enough for us to propel us to win the Champions League and win the league. He's an effective footballer. He's an effective. It was okay.
There's too much romance behind what we do.
Chelsea. He was quite effective for his country. However, when it comes to Arsenal Football Club, what we need a bit more than that. We need, like people talk about Marino, about how well we've played for Spain and what a gem we've got because he can alternate between two positions. I alternate between playing in midfield, playing in just behind the strikers, or
this is what I mean about the romance.
However, that's fine. They're very good at their jobs. They're very good at filling in. However, we need more than filling in players like Marino and Kai Havertz.
We need level raisers.
Exactly.
And that's why I was asking you lot about, like, do you think we're too romantic? Because genuinely I do. I'm at the point now where I'm not angry, I'm not sad. I just look at players for what they are. Now, if we want to keep being this team that gets to 2 semi-finals, goes out, God forbid, in the FA Cup on penalties, has good moments where we batter City and batter Madrid, we've got enough. But to get to that next level, I think we need more players that we can bet on. I think personally our defensive players, and give or take Partey and Rice in midfield, I think they're carrying the burden. I don't feel the attacking units, like all of our attackers, I don't feel they're doing enough. And that might be them individually. That might be down to how Mikel Arteta is playing them. Because I'll be real, I love Martinelli, but we all know he's got his own issues. I don't think Trossard's a bad player. That's a squad player minimum. I add Kai Havertz there because I'd rather see Kai Havertz up front than in midfield. The only attackers I truly, truly believe in is young Wanyeri, who we don't see too many times, and obviously Saka. I feel Arteta's got to do something in that regard. Trossard and Martinelli to a degree, but I don't feel it's that. And I know that because if I ask you lot who your players of the season are, I'm pretty sure whether me, you, and DJB agree, you lot are going to say Miles Lewis-Skelly. You might say Gabriel Magalhaes. You might say Timber. You probably will say Raya. I know they're not defenders, but you'd probably say Partey and Rice would be in there in some degree. You're not really saying the players that play in the final third. Then
that's why we didn't win any trophies. That's DG. That's why we didn't win any trophies.
Yeah,
you know, you can't.
And that comes back to the gaffer. Sadly,
you can't win the league if your main players are off form. You just can't. You can, that's quite a lot of players to carry, and then they got injured as well. So they're off form. They're injured. They come back from injury. They weren't playing well anyway, and then they're off form. So not only were they out of form before they got injured, they've been injured and they've come back, and they look worse than what they were last season. Odegaard's a prime example.
But all what you've said there, DG, it comes down to one focal point. This manager and Edu at the time didn't do the thing that was required. When Isak was flying around, we was giving Eddie Nketiah a contract and $100,000 a week.
You're trying to make me cry, man.
Facts. Yeah, I know, but it's shameful. Last season, when we finished 2 points behind Man City, all we needed to do was sign a striker. He was given the money. He had the money to go and sign a striker. Didn't get Sesko. Go and get someone else. Anyone. Any striker. I know what. Ivan Toney for 40 million. Apparently had an attitude problem. Didn't want him. He's playing in Saudi Arabia. Under their jurisdiction. If you've got an attitude problem, you don't survive in Saudi. All right? Yeah, make it make sense, right? So Arteta has got this. Arteta's got this bag of money at the start of last season, and there's Ivan Toney. There's other forwards as well flying around. Missed the chance on Sesko, but there was other opportunities there. What does he go and do? He goes and signs a defensive midfield player and a centre half that he plays at left back, when we already had left backs at the club.
So he has to hold that.
Right? So all of these things, whether you like it or not, comes down to one person, the football manager. Because he has had the opportunity to strengthen in the right areas in his time that he's been at the club. And he hasn't done it. He doesn't learn by his mistakes. Last season, right, we missed out on the champion. We missed out on the Premiership. What have we got to go and do? Sign a striker. Sign a striker. Let's make our forward line stronger next season. No, you didn't do it. Yeah, all of these things comes down to one person. And again, this is the guy he should have been going for. Gorka is in the very, very first place, not Sesko. And people are going to say to me, "Oh yeah, but what do you know?" Right, goals. Strikers score goals. Look at his goal scoring record.
But 18 of those were penalties, DJB.
Yeah, but listen. Okay, then so Harry Kane's not a goal scorer because most of his goals. Wayne Rooney was most of his goals were penalty. What are we saying?
People were saying to mention it. I don't agree with it.
But what I'm trying to say, right? So what we're going to say, Wayne Rooney wasn't a world-class goal, wasn't a prolific goal scorer because a lot of his goals were penalties. So what I'm trying to say is
you ain't getting 18 pens at Arsenal, though. I know that.
This it comes down to one thing. This club, the manager, Edu, people like that, they did not do the right thing. You had Edu that was new to the role that he was going down. You had Arteta, a new manager, no experience managing at any other club. And it was Mickey Mouse leading Donald Duck. Do you know what I mean? It was like the pair of them didn't know what they were doing. Look at the signings we've made. Look at the money that's been wasted. Pablo Mari,
That's why I need Berta to just say, listen, that we're getting what we need, what people want.
Fabio Vieira. McQueen.
He's at the World Club Cup.
Look at all these players that have been signed under this football manager. Honestly. And we wonder why we're not winning trophies and we wonder why we're struggling. And now it's desperate times course we're running out of patience. Of course the fans are impatient. Of course we're panicking.
Do you think that's harsh on Sesko though, DJB? Because I hear what you're saying with the Gyökeres.
It's nothing.
Is it harsh on Sesko?
It's nothing to do whether you're linked with Sesko or whether you're linked with, I don't know, Chris Wood at Nottingham Forest. It's got nothing to do with that individual player. It's where the club has put us into. The club has put us in this position.
Made us impatient.
Because they haven't done what was required. We are now in a position where we're panicking. You know, we're in that position, and it's got nothing to do with Sesko. It's unfair on Sesko, but whoever comes in, the problem is where I would say it's unfair on Sesko is whoever comes in, the likes of me, Kenny, and all the Arsenal fans that go, and all the Arsenal fans that don't go.
You just want to see a striker that scores.
Whoever comes in, the pressure on that player is going to be massive because he's coming into a big club that's won no trophies, that are demanding success. Whoever comes in, he hasn't got time. 2 or 3, 4 bad games, and that crowd will be literally asking the questions.
For everybody.
You know, he's got to come in and he's got to hit the ground running. He's got to score goals. Don't care who it is.
And that's why I wanted to start DJB, because I'm not on this like Kai Havertz starts the first 5 games, then you throw Sesko in and you expect him, bro. If that's your talisman and you really rate him, let him start the season. Let him be the gunman that we need. Like, let's stop the romance. Striker that scores goals, take it from there.
It's going to need time. Unfortunately, Sesko, even Gyökeres, they're going to need time to bed in at the football club. And unfortunately, we're not in that position. We're not in that position to give time. I'm not. I'm going to be impatient. I'm going to go and sit there. First game of the season, and I expect 3 points pretty much every game now because that's the position this club's put us in.
Kenny, where you at? Like, because even Gyökeres could be a flop. Like, what if the Portuguese exchange rate or the goals in the Portuguese league doesn't correlate? I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case because I see enough intelligence without the ball. But everybody's saying that Gyökeres, including myself, saying Gyökeres is a sure bet. He's 27. You're going to put him on big wages and big money. If it flops, we're kind of fucked.
I hear what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, but the fact is you can't ignore the goals he scored, unfortunately, and the fact that he scored these goals in Europe. But the actual, like I said, doubting Thomas in you will sort of segue towards Nunez at Liverpool. He was scoring a wealth of goals for Benfica. He was also scoring goals in Europe for Benfica, and he's got Liverpool, and he hasn't made that transition. He works his nuts off. He nuts off, but when he gets into like the sort of like position where you need to, like, calm yourself down, put the ball in the net on a regular basis, his numbers just ain't good enough. He's not good enough. It's not as if he's had major injuries. You can understand with Jota, he's had injuries, and maybe he struggled a bit. But if you were to put your money on Jota in front of goal or Nunez, who you put your money on? Not Nunez. So I do understand the situation. It doesn't have to be Gyökeres doesn't have to be a Nunez. And who knows, he's a more experienced player now. But from a business point of view, and I'm not a businessman, but I know Arsenal Football Club are about business. They looked at the long term. This guy's 22, 20, 21, 22. By the time, if we give him a 5-year contract, by the time he's 27, he could, not would, but could be right in his prime. He may not want to be at Arsenal anymore, so who cares? We're selling for big money. It's about the return we're going to get on him. Whilst Gyökeres is right now, we think he should bang goals at Arsenal, but should. Then you look at the situation where maybe in a few years' time, what we're going to get back for him. That's how Arsenal are looking at it. Arteta's identified the player. He's probably got on the ball and said, right, this is the player I need and want. He's going to be a top player in the future. This is a future GOAT. He's got all the attributes I need. He's tall, 6'5". He can hold the ball up,
Jumps high and runs fast.
He's got a pace as well. He's got pace. Run those channels. He can evolve. I can turn him into a top class player. And at Arsenal, he can help me win the league. It's a win-win for Arteta. Well, Goalkeeper, he'll need convincing. Now I'm just going into Mick Arteta's, eye line. I'm going into his body and I'm going to his mind, and that's the only way I can actually explain why it's Sesko, not Goalkeeper. But from a board's point of view, they look at the Goalkeeper.
Them not just see balance sheets, man, Kenny.
Yeah, but they're a business. They have to. But the problem is,
unfortunately,
the problem is, he's got a release clause of 58.
But 5 years at 27, you're still about for ages, There's no guarantee Sesko will be here beyond 5 years.
Maybe not. But they're saying 84 for a 27-year-old who, when he played in England, he played for Coventry. He was in the Brighton Academy, but he had to go away. And they're going to weigh all of that up and say, you know what? No, it doesn't make financial sense. But they'll look at Sesko, 21, 22. They'll look at the fact that he's evolved for a 21, for a player that's 22 at the moment. You look at his numbers, and that's kind of what you expect at his age, and that he can only get better.
No, that's it. I mean, the only other thing as well. I mean, listen, if we end up with either of them, I'm going to be happy because, as I said, I keep saying it. We need a striker. That is whatever. Whether Sesko becomes good, whether Sesko starts to ball out at Arsenal, if he's prolific and he gets us over the line, I'm all for it. Same as Gorkarez. The problem I've got as well, though, is that we're focusing on a striker, but there's other areas that we need to improve. Like the left-hand side, for example.
%.
Martinelli is not the player, that we should be seeing. He's literally fallen off the cliff, and we need another left-hand side player. We also need a number 10. We need to get this captain under pressure because we ain't signing a
10 though, man. All the things we ain't.
Well, the thing is, he's in a position.
You have not played there.
Well, I can't understand why we ain't going for a man like Eze.
Eze needs to be done tomorrow, but it's a myth.
I can't understand. I can't understand why we're not looking at these sort of players. Eze. I can't understand why we weren't sort of looking at Mbeumo and people like this, because for me, Odegaard is in that position where he knows that he can play like he did last season, and he hasn't got any competition.
He's back next year, man.
There's no one pushing this guy. He's captain of the football team. And let's be honest, people are going to say to me, oh, he weren't the same player after his injury. No, he wasn't the same player from day one. He was unrecognisable. He was every game he was poor, pretty poor by his standards. And that's where we need to look at.
Carrying Odegaard, you're not lying.
Nwaneri, unfortunately, there's something in Nwaneri this manager don't like. I don't know what it is. If I was Nwaneri's agent, I'd be looking to sort of see where my options lie, because I don't think Nwaneri under this football manager is going to be the player we all want him to be. There's something about him he doesn't like. That's evident towards the end of this season, the way he's treated him. When he's sitting on the bench and seeing Kieran Tierney play on the right-hand side, come on. The red flags are there for that, And then he plays him. Then he plays him against Southampton. Then he brings him off. Then he doesn't play. Then he doesn't include him in some of the big games towards the end of the season. So I don't think there's much of a future for Nwaneri, and people ain't going to like what I'm saying.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong. I think he's fantastic, but So there's lots of other areas we need to strengthen. And what worries me is that we're going to really, really try for the likes of Rodrygo. We're going to really, really try for these players. And if we hang out and don't look elsewhere, we could end up with none of them. and then
Do you not think we'll get him though?
And then we're panic buying. Then we're panic buying at the end of the season. I don't know. It's Arsenal. I mean,
exactly.
Kenny's probably. I've seen it over the years, DG. It's Arsenal. You know, you get all the fans turn around and say, "Oh yeah, he'll come to Arsenal. Why won't he come to Arsenal?" Well, the fact is, there's bigger clubs than Arsenal.
But he's at Madrid.
There's also clubs that have won things more than Arsenal. And these players are not stupid. They go on their international duty and they're watching players coming in with talking about finals they've been in, medals they've won. If PSG come into Rodrygo, he ain't coming to Arsenal.
Yeah, forget about it.
No, forget it.
So this myth, you've got to get this myth about the Arsenal and a massive big pull. We haven't got that pull anymore. We used to have
in the Brazil squad. Maybe that's fuel to the fire. Like
we used to have, but we haven't got that. We haven't got that at the moment because we haven't won anything. We haven't won anything, and there's a lot of players that if we don't start winning things and we don't start getting big signings through the door, there's a lot of our own talent that will start getting their heads turned. Like you've got Rodrygo there wanting out. You'll have people like Saka. If he doesn't win any trophies, he's not going to hang around. You can't expect Saka to have another Harry Kane scenario like he did at Tottenham.
No, he won't be here that long.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to
happen.
That's not going to happen. But that's the facts, guys. We've got no divine right to sign these big players. We haven't got that right anymore. There's bigger clubs than us.
Kenny, where do you stand on Rodrygo and all of that?
Well, thing with Rodrygo, again, is a player I would like. I definitely would play him in a Martinelli position. But again, is the situation is that he's unhappy at the moment because rightly so, he's been pushed out because of the acquisition of Mbappe mostly. But in essence, he potentially plays his best football on the left-hand side. That's Vinny's position. And if he goes to Brazil, even on the right-hand side of their front three, like I said, Rafinha is just playing good football for both club and country. So you can understand his frustration. Again, Arsenal do, whether we get Rodrygo or not, Arsenal do need improvement down the left-hand side. I'm hearing people...
An upgrade.
I've got a lot of respect for people in the chat because they've looked at Martinelli's performances for 2 qualifiers, and he looks $1 million. But so did Luis Diaz look $1 million. Luis Diaz's goal yesterday in Buenos Aires was fantastic. Fantastic goal. And when they play for their clubs, especially the South American lads, it goes up a level. But the fact is, we've seen Martinelli virtually injury-free this season, and it hasn't worked out. Yeah, he had a slight hamstring strain, but he came back. All in all, he's had virtually a full season, and it hasn't been good. And it's even fans of Martinelli have remarked about his dropping levels. They've talked about how he hasn't been able to beat his right.
He needs to be a team like Liverpool, man. Just open in transition. This ain't for him. I love him though.
Yeah, and it's a situation where they have, agreed that we perhaps do need an upgrade. Well, I cited Martinelli's problems last year and a half ago and got shouted down. I'm not saying I'm proved right. What I'm trying to say is that I noticed this level. The levels were not as great as they were in 21, 22. And I noticed that I became suspicious when he was going all out for a Modric.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, that shows you everything.
Right. Yeah. So whatever you say about Martinelli, I think a lot of our fans have looked at his previous season in 21, 22, the early parts of 22, 23, and
sentiment.
That game against Chelsea away when Conte fell over. They still want that Martinelli because they looked at Saka and they think, you know what, this Saka's still doing it. Well, why isn't Martinelli cooking? And they hope that Martinelli, is like Saka, who makes the right decisions 9 out of 10 times, who's effective 9 out of 10 times.
It's a bench thing until we see that.
You can't say that about Martinelli. Martinelli's not consistently effective.
But I believe Martinelli, if he was at a different club, perhaps playing him more down the centre. I think there's a great player in Martinelli.
He needs to be at Liverpool, man. Transitions, run.
Again, unfortunately, this manager can't get the best out of him. He's rigid on the left. He's stale on the left. He's fed up on the left. He comes into the centre. You see him. I think it was against Southampton where he played down the middle, scored the goal. Looked effective. Looked something like the old Martinelli, but there's nothing for him. He's one player that I think if we can cash in on him, to sell, because I think Martinelli he needs to freshen up his career somewhere else, I think. And I hate to say that, and it's horrible to say that, because obviously I want him at Arsenal. I'm not saying I'm not saying I want to see him go, but if Martinelli was at a different club, you would see a completely different player, 100%.
I can't disagree. I wish I could. So then, like, what do you lot make of Garnacho? Because we've been linked with him. Apparently, Garnacho's agents have spoken to Arsenal.
No.
This would be a classic Arsenal signing, though. This is a signing on deadline day. This is. Don't be surprised.
70 million.
Don't be surprised this guy rocks up sort of in like August, like 12, 10 hours before the window shuts. This would be a classic.
This will tell me we're not serious.
This would be a classic Arsenal. This would be Arsenal all over if we sign this man.
I'll be angry.
I'm not Garnacho. You're not serious.
You know I'm going to be angry? It's because I look at Garnacho, and you're one of the biggest clubs in the world, right? Where you can't even get yourself up for your club's basically on its knees. You can't lift your performances for one of the biggest clubs in the world, and then you're going to come here and expect to come and cook for us when you basically down tools at the biggest club in the world. I don't want you here. No. Another thing as well is that in terms of like the demands that Amorim has placed on Garnacho, well, Mikel Arteta's going to place the same demands on him. Mikel Arteta's still going to want him to sort of to track back, be excellent off the ball, not on the ball but off the ball, and then still be expected to be effective on the ball.
But Kenny, the demands are sorry, mate, but the demands will be even more at Arsenal because Man United have won trophies in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
we haven't won anything, so the demands are going to be on him even more. So what I'm saying is, if he can't, it's true what you said. If he can't produce at Man United and he's down tools at Man United, why do we want him at Arsenal?
It's the same with Rashford. It's the same Rashford. When people talks about getting Marcus Rashford in, I was thinking, well, hang on here. He's at his hometown club, the biggest club. They're paying him £350,000 a week. If he can't do it at Man United, what makes you think he's going to work his nuts off for us? Because we're still going to play him in the same position, and or make demands of him off the ball. So I don't understand it. They say, why would I? I think we'll just get the same return because Arteta's demands are going to be even worse. All right, the consolation for Arsenal fans who want Garnacho and wanted Rashford is that yes, he will be playing in a better team, no doubt about it. But that's about it. Playing a better team. The fact is that the same issues you had on Amorim, who is just as much as a dictator as Arteta, you're going to have the same problems here. And look what he did to Ranieri. Ranieri, he when he wasn't doing his work off the ball, he was at the team. Simple.
Yeah, exactly.
70 million for Garnacho, by the way, they're saying. Myth.
Why Arteta was why Ranieri was left out of the team. And why he worked great back in the team. Because he off the ball against Brentford, he was very bad.
Listen, this reminds me, this is a very similar signing to Kai Havertz.
No, this is worse. This is way worse.
It's worse, but it's
him and Martinelli together on that.
No one wanted Kai Havertz. I don't. If you was to ask most of the Arsenal fans,
and to be honest, no one wanted Kai. No one. Right. It's worked out to a point. He's been better than I thought, but we didn't want Kai. No one
wanted Kai Havertz. Right? When Kai Havertz was linked with Arsenal and he was coming to Arsenal, everyone was going like, "Oh no!" Chelsea was going, "Thank you." Thank you.
They only made a 5 million loss,
Yeah.
and he scored the goal that won them the Champions
Now,
League. So they'll call it quits.
This Garnacho, the longer this goes on, don't be surprised if he don't end up rocking up at Arsenal. That's all I'm saying. You know, and you got Aaron London saying about Arsenal freedom. Well, where's the
Aaron,
proof that these players have been playing with any freedom last season? Tell me the proof.
It's
Apart
system-based
from one or two
football now.
games, tell me the proof where these players play with freedom. They don't play with freedom. These Arsenal players don't play with freedom. That's why he's binned Wanyeri. Wanyeri plays with freedom and he don't like it.
But is he wrong for demanding more off the ball from Wanyeri in the modern day?
Some players just don't do that though, DG. So you have to play. You have to get the best out of them. If this player doesn't do much off the ball, then turn him into a player when he has got the ball. Make him dangerous in the final third. Look what Arnie's done with Salah. Stopped him defending, made him more lethal in the final third. Play to his strengths. Incorporate him. Just say, right, we've got players that can do the donkey work. We've got the Rices. We've got the Parties. We've got Timbers. We've got players that can do that donkey work. You be effective there. When you get the ball, go and do your thing. Go and cut inside, make things happen. Terrorise their defence. Yeah, but he won't do it. He won't do it. You know what I'm saying? He won't do it. Yeah. Players have to be up and down. They have to be workmanlike. And this is how he plays. And, you know, this is why we pick up so many injuries. Because they're backwards and forwards. That, you know, they're working overload. Saka does it, but I remember when he was interviewed earlier in the season. It's what the manager demands. But you can see on his face, he's like...
He was quite polite, but he's like, yeah, I'd rather be in the final third.
You've got to read his body language. When he's standing there and he's going like, it's what the manager demands, and it's demanding, and you have to work. And you look at his face and you think, but there's occasions when it's too much. I don't need to be in that position. Do you know what I mean? Is he going to change? He's not going to change. You'll see pretty much the same style of play.
No, but should he change though? Because we've got second, we got to a quarterfinals the season before the one that just finished, and we got to the semis. You could argue that it's being devil's advocate, that it's working. Now there's a deeper conversation that there needs to be freedom.
DG, because teams have found us out.
I've got to ask you guys these questions. I have to.
Yeah, but listen. Do you honestly think that it's working? Because teams have found us out. West Ham came to the Emirates.
Oh yeah, you play a low block against us, we're in problems.
Teams are finding us out. We're not scary anymore. Teams suss us out very, very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, and we can't see.
You know what? We need to sort of like to be honest, it happens in football. Teams eventually work you out. Yes, it happened with Klopp's Liverpool. You know, the Liverpool team that won the 2020 title. A year later, teams worked them out, especially when their defenders got injured and they played their midfielders in defence. What teams were doing in lockdown was just playing the ball over the top, getting behind them and winning matches, soaking up the pressure. When we in the 22-23 season, teams began to work us out towards the business end of the season because we were leaving gaps and what all teams had to do is fill the gaps. They were losing games, but they're still getting goals. The better teams were getting goals, but they were not losing, and they were going on to win games. So that Arteta changed the way we played in 23-24, perfected it where he added a bit of a dimension through the set pieces,
and then we stagnated.
Arsenal were one of the top teams in the country. Teams went, right, how do we stop Arsenal? How do we break their low block? How do we get past that overload stranglehold? How do we deal with their set pieces? They found a way.
Yeah. And it's like Pep now. You'll see him change his style of play next season. He won't stick to how he played.
Not at all.
He'll completely change the way he played. And this is what you have to do. You have to adapt. So you have to change the way you're playing. You have to freshen it up. We can't play the same way as we did this season. Teams have found us out.
1,000,000% we can't. It's been shit. No,
we're too
predictable.
And let's be honest.
Stale.
Let's be
Stagnant.
honest.
Regressive.
You know, we finished second, but
false image.
If Man United have had their act together, if Chelsea have had
we're
their
just
act
behind
together,
Liverpool and we're better than the rest, so we're in that weird kind of space where we're by ourselves.
I mean, we've winged it this season, really.
Winged it, man, from start to finish.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. The football just hasn't been good enough. Too many players have not performed how they should have done. And I'm talking about the whole season. I'm not talking towards the end of the season. Declan Rice weren't really on it first part of the season.
Only our defenders have been on it.
Some of our fans that though. Try telling some of our fans that they think because of those performances in the business end of the season that he's had a great season. Some of them making anointing him as the player of the season, and you could say that about Miles Lewis-Skelly. He's had a very good season, but player of the season, surely that should go for a player like Raya, who's been there from start to finish.
Yeah, Raya.
And that's how you actually assess their performances.
Yeah. I mean, it summed it up what DG said earlier on. You know, if you're looking at player of the season, you ain't really looking in the final third.
You're definitely not looking in the final third. You're
looking from the back. You're looking from the back. You know, you're going. You're starting with a goalkeeper, number one, and then you're going to Timber, possibly Gabriel if he had stayed fit. You know, other than that, Other than that, I'm sort of scratching my head, really.
There's no attacker. I would force it and say Saka because I think he had a good season before he got injured and he came back well and then he looked injured and he's still a big game player.
You know what, DG? If I was Bukayo Saka now, I'd say to him, right, the international break's over, go on holiday. Stay on holiday. Yeah. And I'll even say to him, you know what, pre-season, come back probably a week after everyone else.
Maybe do that Wenger thing where you're not here for the start of the season. Wenger always used to give people time off depending on when they played.
I'll say to him, get yourself fully fit. I don't want you there. I want you to do your minor gym work, but I don't want you to go all out. And when you come back pre-season, because I'll tell you one thing, if we're going to get anything out of the season, regardless of whether we sign Sesko, Zubimendi or anyone else, we need this guy to be at basically, we will just say to him, you know what? If we keep this guy fit and he's fit and he's the Saka that we know and love, we've got a chance of challenging again.
Yeah,
he's the one player we have in our team who is genuinely on the brink of being world class.
No, that brink stuff. He's world class, Kenny. Don't start that again.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I agree with Kenny. This kid needs to manage his game time during close season.
Chat, is Saka world class or not? Go on, DJB. I just want to hear what the chat have to say.
Saka world class? No.
Yeah.
No.
Come on, lads.
Not yet. It's not. No, he's never going to be world class.
DG, we've had this. Listen,
I have to start again.
We've had this conversation. It depends what you call world class. My world class is a lot different to most people. I don't jump on the bandwagon of players, you know, playing very, very good football and doing something in moments, and you think, "Whoa!" I'm talking about consistent.
I want to ask you a question, DJB, after you finish this.
Yeah, I just look at players that are consistently doing it week in, week out. You know what I mean?
He'll get there.
I'm not saying he goes away. He will get there. He will get there.
All right, so who are the world class players in that right wing position for you lot?
Well, who is
that?
In the world or in this country?
The world. Like just right wing.
You have to say.
Mo Salah's one. I'll give you lot one. Salah, cool.
Salah, yeah, Salah.
Yeah.
That's one.
Right, show that. Who else?
I'm asking you, look. I think Saka's there.
You know, like
Kenny.
Yamal.
So what? Yamal's there. Yamal's there.
DJ, let me ask you this, right?
I think Yamal's world class, but come on.
Yeah,
Yamal's there, Saka's there.
I think he's the exception. I think that
I need to
think
look
it's
at
really
VAR
generational.
because
I
if
think it's
Saka's playing for
generational.
Spain and Barca, we might look at this different.
No,
No,
but
no.
I do think he's. I think sometimes.
Kenny slipped up. I heard you say it.
No, it's not so much that. When you look at Yamal, sometimes I'm not moving the goalpost. I'm just saying.
No,
that
he's an
some-
exception to the rule.
It's some players are an exception to the rule in terms of the reason why I'm an exception to the rule because they're generational.
Mm.
I'm not saying Saka's going to be a world-class player outside of that, and he's going to be at Arsenal, pray. But when you look at Yamal, he breaks the mold. It's sometimes in football, someone just comes along and you think, bloody hell, who's this?
You're why we like watching the game. Now,
Exactly.
I agree with you,
That's
Kenny,
the
but
class
you're a
of
hypocrite on your own
football.
logic.
Saka's evolved. Saka will. I'll throw this out then. Do you think Saka's reached his level at Arsenal, or do you think this manager will send him to the next level? Because I can't see that.
I think he'll send him to the next level because Saka's had these standout years under Mikel Arteta. Where I agree with where you're going with DJB is that quite simply free up the shackles from Saka and all this defensive crap, and Saka gets even better. And I agree with the talk about Yamal. I have been saying on my channel, I think Yamal's the best player in the world. But if Yamal is in there with his body of work, what isn't that big, Saka's got to be there, boys.
Who do you start with then, DG? Yamal comes to Arsenal. Who do you start with? Yamal start. Who do you bench? Who do you start? Saka or Yamal?
Yamal plays in Odegaard's role. Saka goes right wing.
No. Forget Yamal or Saka.
It's like your backside.
Yamal right wing. Saka goes on the left, and they swap in the game.
No. Listen, Yamal or Saka?
Obviously, Yamal. I think he's the best in the world. Like I think Yamal.
Okay.
I agree with what you lot are saying. I just think I can't put into words. Yamal, the best thing I can say with Yamal is you're why I like watching football. Words can't put into it. Like just your mentality, the way you do it, you're not phased. Obviously, what you're doing with a ball. But if you look like Kenny last week said body of work. Saka's big body of work is bigger.
Can I just say something on Saka?
He has all of these things we're gassing about Yamal, you know.
Yeah, can I just say something on Saka? Some of his decision making in vital moments still needs to improve. Yeah, there's times when he should be crossing quicker, crossing earlier. There's times perhaps when he should be cutting inside and getting a shot off. Listen, I think he's an outstanding. Listen, he doesn't. I'm nitpicking, but if you're comparing him with Yamal, whenever Yamal's in that key moment, that key position, he very, very rarely makes the wrong decision. Whereas Saka at times, you think, oh, what's he done there? Do you know what I mean?
Clear of Saka.
That's all I'm saying. If I'm comparing the two. But
both,
I've still not heard who the best in Saka's position is. Right wing, Yamal, Salah, cool. There's 3 more positions.
There's not many. Think about it.
So there's not many, Kenny. So he's got tips. So that means he's Saka's third in the world.
It doesn't mean Saka's world class because there's not many people better. The thing with world class. No, he's not world class yet. He's got to be world class.
If he's the third best in his position, generational Yamal and Saka, Salah, he's got to be, bro.
He's not what they look. He's not far off. He's not far off. He's close.
You lot are just being old guys, man.
He's close, but you know when Yamal is when you talk about generational players and world class players, right? Sometimes you look at them and you're thinking they break the rules. They break the rules. Diego Maradona broke the rules. He broke the rules.
Saka's broke the rules.
Coaching in the tactical manual that you think, well, what? Ain't good. You can't do that, but he does that. Yamal's in that sort of category. Saka's
not aesthetically pleasing.
He's a fantastic player, and he's but Yamal at that age is unique. It's just something else. Where I think he can't do that.
No, I agree with all of this. I'm just saying, Yamal, for me, Yamal's the best in the world, but Saka not world class. You lot smoking.
Do I?
Oh, PSG.
No, fuck off. If Doué's world class, Saka's world class.
No, Doué.
I'm not saying he's world class. I'm just saying.
No. Doué gets world class shout. Saka's definitely.
No. Doué's not world class, man. Doué's not world class.
Give me 3 more seasons.
Kenny's about to say something problematic.
Give me 3 more seasons. Alicia, nah. Saka. I still think Saka's better than Alicia. I like what Lisa does.
Phil Foden
does, but I think Saka's better.
Foden what?
Phil Foden.
He's world class.
Look how many trophies he's won.
No, fuck off. If Foden is world class, Saka's world class.
But what's Saka one compared to Foden? DG, what's Saka one compared to? Do you know how many?
No, you're at City, bro. You're gonna get that. Scott Carson's got bare trophies. You're gonna get that. Could Foden carry Arsenal like Saka has?
Foden had that season. Foden's had 2 seasons where he was just unplayable.
Give me a memorable game from Foden. A game you're like, wow, we just won.
Oh, I can't remember. He's had many.
See what I'm saying? Saka does bare. France in the Euros and the World Cup. Saka's done it all.
I think with Phil Foden,
because he Cruyff turns.
DG, I think with Phil Foden, I think
you lot are being harsh, man.
No. I think with Phil Foden, I think what's happened is that people have looked at his performances at the Euros last year, and they've looked at his performances this year.
Last 3 campaigns for England.
Yeah, I think the questions with the
Euros, World Cup Euros, even the one he dyed his hair blonde.
Let me finish. The questions about Foden is that because of what we've seen in the last year from Foden, we're now asking the question: is Foden generational, or is he a good player in a great team? And can Foden
exactly
be the talisman? Because right now we've got questions. Because
I'd have him over Odegaard.
We got
I would as well. I fuck with Foden. I think Foden's cold, but if Foden is getting any world-class shout, Saka definitely needs to. I just want to ask you, look, could Foden do what Palmer's done at Chelsea, or could Foden do what Saka's done for years tracking us?
Palmer's another one. He's not world-class.
And then man could do what he's doing at City. Definitely.
Saka's better than Cole Palmer, DG.
I'm just saying, Foden is like Mikel Arteta. You're gassed up, but not expected to do things.
No, I like Foden, man. Foden's a good player.
I like Foden, but he's 25, bro.
Let's be honest. This kid's a player.
He is a player. 4 goals.
Riyad Mahrez. Mahrez was a top right winger, man.
Bro, I can't believe it, man.
It's an argument that is up for debate. It's because simple reason is that.
Who's he bagged against?
You know what we're having. You know what the good thing about us having this argument.
Big games, Foden ain't done that in. Remember, Foden lost the ball against us as well.
DG, wait a minute. You know the good thing about us having this argument. It just shows you one thing: English football is strong. The fact that we're pissed off. Excuse my language. We're pissed off.
That
we didn't win the Euros. We didn't beat Spain and Italy in this generation. Shows you that English football is strong. Because let's get this right. 20 years ago, we'd have been happy with getting to the 2 European Championships.
These are better than the golden generation when I was a child. Rio and all them. I'll be honest.
Yeah, 20 years ago, how many arguments were we having about world-class players? We had this fake golden generation that included Lampard, Beckham, Scholes, Gerrard, and Lampard.
Exactly. Sol Campbell and Cole was there
as well. World-clase, Kenny.
I know, but this generation now is. We've got a very strong English side because these guys have made the transition from winning their junior tournaments to getting to big finals for their country in Europe. But let's face it, the European Championship, the best teams in Europe. Don't get me wrong, in the World Cup, it's still the biggest for me. But the World Cup, you do play teams like Costa Rica, and you can potentially play a team that it could. And I don't take this wrong way. You can play teams like Trinidad. Not.
Less of that, Kenny. No carry.
Right, listen.
What I'm trying to say is that you because of the World Cup, because of the fact that it's the World Cup, you can play a team who are in the top 5 of Europe of the world football, and then play a team who's in the bottom. In the bottom 50. You know what I mean? And that's the World Cup. In the Euros, European Championships, you're playing the best of the best. And a lot of those teams in the European Championships are amongst the best teams in the world. France, Germany, Spain, Holland, Italy. Well, no, Italy, yeah, because Italy won the Euros.
Generational talent's only got 4 goals in 45 for England.
Of course, you talk about Argentina and Brazil, but Brazil are not as Brazil of yesteryear, are they?
Listen, he's a great player, Saka, but listen. I want my world-class players to go and smash one in the top corner against PSG. Like, do you know what I mean?
I can't believe you. Saka's world class. You lot are saying Foden's world class, man. I can't believe.
Listen.
But what's Foden done to be world class?
The problem is,
it's close. It's close.
Listen.
But what's he done? Because I asked you lot.
We use the term world class. We use the term world class with a lot of players.
That should be said for Foden, lads.
Yeah, we use that terminology world class these days, like giving out sweets. Yeah. We're
waiting him for scoring against United and Spurs. He's not even done it in no big games. This is the year he got PFA. Because Foden can spin and he's left-footed and that, and I rate Foden, but I'm just simply saying if Foden's world class, bro.
I never said Foden's world class. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is,
Kenny said he's world class. One of you said
he's world class. I never said he was world class.
No one said Foden's world class. Okay.
No.
I don't think he's world class.
I'm sure if you rewind it, I heard Foden was world class. But
I'll tell you what, right? If we get to a Champions League semi-final, or we need to win, if we need 3 points in the Premiership, last 3 games in from the end of the season next season, and that boy comes on the pitch and he turns it on, beats 2 or 3 players, smashes it in the net, I'll give Saka world class.
So he just needs to score. He just needs to beat 2 players in the must-win game, and he's world class. Everybody's screenshot. We know what he needs to do now.
He's there. No, he is there, but listen,
he's on the cusp.
He's in the conversation, but he's not right there. It's about
he's not there yet. He's not there yet.
What's he missing? That he can do off his own back, not the team. No, I hear that. I knew he was going to say trophies. He can't deliver trophies on his J's.
Listen, when you got like all your Zidanes in the world, Ronaldos, your Messis, Maradonas, Pirlos, Gareth Bales, all these sort of men, right? They've all got one thing in common. They've all won big trophies.
Fair. You're right.
Saka, if he
had to leave to do that.
If he can get big medals around his neck, along with his brilliant play, then people will start putting him up.
No, DJB, that goes on. You know what? If you compare our current team, a good team, to be honest, a good team, compared it to our legends, what stops them from getting into legendary status is the fact that they haven't won anything.
Exactly.
But I think we need to. There's quite a few people who say they heard either myself or you, DJB, saying that Foden was better than Saka.
No, you lot defo said, one of you defo said, if not both, said Foden was world class. Definitely.
DG was saying, name me some players. I was just naming players.
Let me know a point. There's another one. There's another person in the chat who said that we said Foden was world class. Well, I don't remember saying Foden was world class, and I didn't compare Foden to Saka. What I said about Foden, and I repeat myself because I feel I need to, is that we're now in the conversation, having conversations on whether Foden is a top class player or whether
top player Foden.
Let me finish. We're now saying we're now musing over the point that is Foden a good player in a great team, or is he a world class? Is he a potentially world class player of form? And the reason why I say that is because at the moment with Foden, he had a poor Euros, he had a poor season for Man City. So I'm now in the opinion that Foden is a good player who can play well with great players, but Foden's not a player that can be a talisman for me. That's the opinion I have. So I don't think he's world class. I don't think he's world class.
I'd have him at Arsenal in a
heartbeat earlier.
Yeah, he's a sort of player.
I think Foden's a generational talent for what it's worth.
Yeah, listen. From taking the Arsenal hat off, right? Foden and Saka have been some of the most exciting English players that have come through in recent years. I would say Saka is probably ahead of Foden on a consistent basis.
I think so.
But you know, if you speak to West Ham fans, Bowen's better than Saka. So here we go.
Big up Bowen,
yeah. If you want to be really delusional, although I'd have Bowen over going.
I'd have Bowen, but come on,
I'd have Bowen. Telling you, he can play on the 10, he can play on the right, he can play down the middle.
Slap him up front.
He scores goals as well. He scores goals, and that's what you want in that position. In that position that Bowen plays, I always said, my basic blueprint for, you know what I mean? For me, my blueprint has always been, if you're an attacker, I need to see goals. I couldn't give a damn about your assists. if you're in attacking positions and you're in the box on a regular basis and you're playing on your side, you know, towards goal on your strongest foot, I need goals. I don't care about assists. I take it for granted. You're a left winger. Of course, you should be putting crosses in. Of course, you should be putting passes in. But where's he going? Show me your goals.
When you put it like that, fair enough.
Exactly. You know I'd take Bowen all day long. I'd take Bowen all day long. That's a no-brainer.
Treat at Arsenal.
That's a no-brainer. Rice knows him as well. Him and Rice, listen, they got.
Don't shoot me. I'm having Bowen over Kudus. I definitely am.
I'm having Bowen over Kudos. I'm having Bowen over Garnacho.
%1,000,000 over Garnacho. Garnacho's a non-story.
I'd even have,
starter for me.
Yeah,
forget that.
And because of Bowen's Premier League experience, and because he's done it, and because he keeps on doing it in a team like West Ham, no disrespect to West Ham, I'd have him over Sesko.
You know the one thing about Bowen.
I don't know. Big up Bowen, but I'm a fan of Sesko still.
But you know the one thing about Bowen, though? I pray that if Bowen was to go to counter an Arsenal, and I hope for Bowen himself, if he does go to like a bigger club, that he actually does make that transition. Because I looked at Trossard, and you look at Trossard's performances before he came to the football club. I mean, he scores a hat-trick at Anfield. He had a really good career at Brighton, but I always look at Trossard and I think, you know what? He's effective, but I'm not convinced he's made that transition.
He's a bench player, isn't he? He's a bench player, Kenny.
Yeah, it's a squad thing. Yeah, rotation.
Yeah, but you would think that you would want Bowen to be better than that.
Yeah, I think he would be. I think he would be because he's more versatile, Bowen, isn't he? But as I said, Bowen, you can put him in the 10, you can play him on the right. He'd be cover for Saka.
He's English as well. He might get gassed up as well. He's at Arsenal. Let me do this. Like,
yeah, he's also. You can also play him down the middle. I mean, you got to remember when he went to West Ham, he was at Hull.
Exactly.
And he's, you know what I mean. He's one of West Ham's best ever players. And that's saying something, you know what I mean? So, yeah, no, I think he's got potential. I think he'd be someone. These are all the sort of players I can't understand why we're not kind of going in for. Even if we get,
they're going to cost an arm and a leg, though, man.
He's paid for England.
Eze as well. Eze.
They're saying 60 million quid for Eze. Get it done, man.
Elise, we missed the boat on Elise last season. I mean, he's another one. Look at Elise. Why didn't we go in?
You know what? You know, DJB. I don't think we missed the boat on Elise.
No, we did.
I think Elise Elise wanted to play abroad. Elise, he's only got one ambition in football, and that's to play for win the World Cup for France. And he feels that if he went to Bayern Munich, plays week in, week out, plays in a winning team, you know, and is integral to the way they're playing.
Elise in the 10, man.
He would 100% go to Bayern. He was never going to go to an English club. He was always going to go where he could be in a shop window for Deschamps to put him in the French team. That's the impression he gave me.
You just needed to leave Crystal Palace, and like as snooty as it is, obviously he's playing great at Bayern with good players and whatnot, but it's not too different. You just need a bit of clout on your name.
Do you know what? Right, someone in the chat said, "Just bring me Mateta." Mateta was probably, until this manager got hold of him, no one spoke about Mateta. He was couldn't even get a game. That's why they bought Eddie Nketiah. This manager's gone to Crystal Palace and turned him into a top striker. Can you see Arteta turning Mateta into a top striker? Would Arteta be able to do to Mateta what Glasner's done? No, is the answer.
I wish I could disagree. Speaking of Crystal Palace, yeah, like we've been linked with Gurr. He's got a year left on his deal. What are you lot saying for this?
No brainer. Absolute
No
no brainer. Get him in.
English should build a team. England is basically for it. England is basically him and another player.
Good centre half. Good centre half.
Good on the ball and reads the game well. You know,
Yeah.
it's no accident he played. Apart from his suspension, he played every game for Gareth Southgate.
He knows what he can and can't do. He don't try things above his pay grade, if that makes sense.
Yeah. He's steady and he's a good player. He's intelligent, and not only that, these are the sort of backups. When I say sign a player at Arsenal, these are the sort of backup. These are the sort of players you need to be pushing one another for positions. Because you could have Gahey come in for Saliba, and you probably would not
start the season. Gabriel Magalhaes is injured.
You could see Gahey come in for Gabriel, and you won't see a lot of difference. You know what I mean? This would be someone I'd really like at the football club. Arteta will probably play him at left back, but that's neither here or there. But
he crossed an arm and a leg, man.
Yeah.
He's been linked with Hato as well. But yeah, I'm a big fan of him. Bring him.
Totally. He's a really good player.
We need defensive reinforcements.
But how much is he going to be, though? He's going to be like...
Probably about 50-odd million quid. Spend that, man.
Yeah, he's going to...
Spend it. I can't lie. I've seen him play centre-half, captain, Ajax, play 100 times. He played left-back. Bring him.
If you're talking Sesko, Rodrygo, Zubimendi, I don't think there's going to be much money left.
Yeah, we're scrambling around for some more finances, man. But the outgoings, potentially.
Sorry?
Maybe the outgoings, like Zinchenko, maybe Fabio Vieira, maybe
what me and Kenny's been saying. We've got to, if we want to really reinforce our squad and have quality in every single position, you have to get players out the door. Literally. You've got to cash in on Martinelli. You got to get players out the door if you want quality in. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to afford it.
That's true. That's true. I can't get away without asking you lot about Kepa. 5 million quid. Is it a good deal? I know Kepa is someone we've laughed at and whatnot, but is it a good deal?
Right, I know. Do you know what? I've heard so much about this Kepa, right? I'll tell you where I am with it. If you are going to go down the road of signing a goalkeeper as second fiddle, there's two things you have to look at. How much you want to spend on a goalkeeper and what experience has he got. This keeper has cost nothing other than £5 million. If we wanted something better, because we're not looking to replace Raya. Raya's going to be number one. So we're not looking at going out spending 50, 60 million on a goalkeeper to overtake Raya. All we're looking for is someone that can come in and do a job with experience, right? And perhaps give Raya some rest in certain games. So on that basis, £5 million on Kepa, take away his Chelsea links, and we hear all this, he's a Chelsea reject, blah, blah, blah. We know that, right? And we know how much he cost Chelsea. But if you're going to buy a goalkeeper purely on the basis as a backup number two, number one, you don't want to spend too much money. And number two, you need someone that's got experience in the Premiership. This guy's 9 clean sheets for Bournemouth. He's played for Bournemouth. Bournemouth finished 9th in the table. He didn't do a lot wrong for Bournemouth, and he's only costing £5 million. To me, for a backup goalkeeper, it's a no-brainer.
But if Raya gets injured, do we rate him though to be able to do a job?
He wouldn't be much.
Really rate him? Because I'm scared of him. I don't think you're wrong, DJB, but yeah, I'm just presenting another side.
The problem is, if you want better, if you want two number ones, and we've been down that route before with Ramsdale and Raya.
Yeah,
goalkeepers have got their own little league. No goalkeeper you can't have two number ones at your football club. So if you want another safe pair of hands when you lose your first choice goalkeeper, then you've got to go and pay 40, 50 million pound for one.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And if you're going to go and pay 40, 50 million pound for another safe pair of hands, you've then got to make sacrifices in the positions that where you really need to strengthen.
And we can't afford that this year.
So you can't go and spend 40, 50 million on a goalkeeper and expect to go and get Rodrygo.
Exactly. That's where it is what it is.
So unfortunately, you can't have your cake and eat it. You either spend 5 million and be happy with a backup goalkeeper, or you spend 50 million and be happy with Martinelli having no backup. That's how you got to look at it.
That, yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. If you want another number one, and you're worried that if Raya gets injured, then you have to go and spend 40, 50 million on a top class goalkeeper.
Should have got that Garcia lad last season, man. He looks like he's going to be
exactly. But you can't have it always. So bearing in mind with the end that we're dealt with, and this is what I said at the start of the stream, we have left ourselves in this position where beggars can't be choosers.
Exactly.
We either have to take a low budget goalkeeper. If we'd have signed the players that we should have signed under this manager over the years, we could have probably gone and got another 40, 50 million pound goalkeeper. But we can't do that. So we can't, beggars can't be choosers. We have to just drop down the ladder and take someone like Kepa.
It is what it is, man. My last question for you lot, because we've been here for a minute. I want to let you lot enjoy your evening. We've been linked with Alanga. You lot having him?
Go on, Kenny. I spoke about Kepa.
Yeah, Kenny.
He's got pace.
Mm.
You know, he's had a good season not at Forest. However,
there's 50 million shouts. Well, better yet, 60 million shouts.
No, I want someone who's a top class left winger.
Mm.
So I do. Don't get me wrong. He's got the attitude. He's got pace, but I don't want to go through the same rigmarole that we're going through with Martinelli, where I'm thinking, you know what, he's inconsistent. He's not scoring enough goals this season, and he's not beating his man. I want someone who can take us to that next level. Alanga, as well as Alanga's played, I respect how he's done. I have to say, no, but he's got pace.
For less than 60 million, I'm on it. Not for
No.
Semenyo 70, him 60. This is crazy now, man.
Yeah,
that's the problem we've got with these wingers in this country. The problem we've got with them is that they have moments, but I want consistency. I need goals.
This is what I'm saying. Numbers, crazy numbers, if I'm honest.
No, the only numbers I'm interested in is goals. I couldn't care less about assists.
No, I need the Mane and Salah left and right. I need crazy numbers.
I need goals.
Because
the striker's not necessarily going to get you. What if your striker's off form? What if your striker doesn't get you the 25
That's
goals?
what I'm saying. I want crazy numbers from the left and the right for us.
Go and get me Rodgers from Aston Villa.
He's being linked with Chelsea now. They're saying 80 million. You know we ain't paying 80 million for Rodgers. I'd love it though.
That's the sort of player we need. We need an attacking midfield.
I agree.
We need an attacking midfield player. We're too defensive in there. We're too defensive. And you can't rely on
Rodgers is one of them. You just stick him anywhere, he'll make it happen. He's just on it.
Odegaard can't produce week in, week out. You need another attacking midfield player. You need a flared player in midfield. You need someone bursting from centre. We haven't got it. That's why the wingers are having to, try and create something all the time. Because we haven't got that central creative midfield player like a Rodgers. That's why Saka and Martinelli are forced to try and produce something out of nothing.
I just think Martinelli's decision making is pony, man. As much as I like the guy,
he's got to learn to get his head up. But first,
I think it's done. DJB, I think it's done. If you're 25 years of age and I'm still talking about you playing with your head down like this, it's done.
Yeah.
That's gonna be you, innit? You might as well go somewhere where they're open on the transition. You're not gonna learn nothing now, innit? Really? Well, maybe they will. I don't know.
DJ, I remember when I was learning to play football at school, our coach used to put a cone on our head and play football. So we had to keep our head up with a cone on our head, because if you play with your head down, the cone will come off. And if the cone comes off, you have to then go off the pitch, and the last man's the team with the most players on the pitch wins.
This is what Martinelli needed that 5 years ago. Like,
old school ways, mate.
Right, old school sometimes better. You can have all these statistics and heat maps and that, but that would help Martinelli. And I love Martinelli, but I'm at the point where with a lot of these players, to be fair, I'm just accepting you for what you are. If you're hot and cold, cool, you're hot and cold. Let's use you appropriately. That just tells me 10 to 15 games you can help us. Saka's the only attacker that, for me, I truly believe in you in August. The others, it's not to say they can't go through good moments, but kind of what you lot are saying, we all know we need a forward, we need a left winger, we need depth. We need Berta and Arteta to pull their fingers out, lads. And if nothing changes,
we need the manager to start stepping up. We need the manager to actually change his ways. We need the manager to get the best out of the players he's got, and he ain't doing it.
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah,
he has to put his finger out.
He's on a lot of money. He's had a lot of time. He's had a lot of time. He's had a lot of funds. He's had a lot of backing. It's time to deliver. And if he ain't delivered by Christmas, if we are sitting 4th, 5th at Christmas, 10, 12 points off the top, goodbye, Mikel, I'm afraid.
I don't even think they'll do that, though, DJB. I don't think they'll pull the trigger. Like,
well, this is when it comes down to the owners. This is when it comes down to the owners. See, me with the owners, my biggest gripe with the owners is that they're letting this manager to continue another season. That's my biggest problem with these owners. They're letting this happen. They're allowing
Champions League money, man. They're cool. They don't care. We know they don't care about football as much as us lads. Like, they're getting Champions League money. They don't care about nothing else. And for all of us that might question Arteta,
the same fans that big up Arteta and think they worship the ground he walks on, and finishing second is a trophy, and beating Real Madrid in the quarterfinal is the quarterfinal trophy, yippee-doo, are the same fans that are blaming the Cronkies, but it's the Cronkies that are keeping Arteta at the club. So how can you
blame everyone but him?
How can you be blaming the Cronkies? It's the Cronkies that's keeping your manager at the club, who you absolutely adore.
Who they bet on when he didn't have any CV as well. He was just Pep's assistant or something in the most respectful way to him. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't rate him to high heavens and then not hold him to higher standards. And I think when it comes to Arteta, he either gets all of the blame or none of the blame. But you know how Arsenal fans are. There's no grey area. There's no nuances. It just is what it is, which is why I like having you two here, because throughout this 2 hours or 2 hours and 22 minutes, you lot have given flowers where you feel appropriate and ask questions.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah,
we're few in between, guys.
Yeah,
the reality.
It's got to be done, because I think some reasons that I look at a lot of the podcasts out there, and they always have the same people on and the same sort of opinions. They don't diversify, and it's not easy to do it, because ultimately you got to pander to your audience and what they want, and I respect that. But sometimes I hear people and it's all the same. It's all the same, especially when they talk about the manager. You know, you can still like talk alternatively about football in itself. You know, there's a lot of people
being an independent thinker. Really?
Yeah, you got to be independent. You can't. We don't wear the school uniform. The only thing we should have in common with our fans basically is, you know what, we go to Wembley and we all sit in the Arsenal end. That's the only thing we should have in common. Apart from that, you should have nothing in common. You should be able to argue your point any way as you see fit. Some people agree with you. Some people won't agree. Some people be personal. Yeah. You know what I mean? I've seen a few personal
to us
in the chat. Some guys have made an ignoramuses of themselves. But that's them. They want to get a laugh at their laugh. That shows their immaturity.
That's how they go to sleep. Because the saddest thing is they probably agree, or if they don't agree with what we're saying, they somehow see where we're coming from. But that is harder to do than actually just admitting we're not where we need to be. By all means, if everything was great, we've won trebles, prems, champs, we'd all be sitting there happy as Larry. This is amazing, that's amazing, but that is not the case. I always say on my platform, I don't tell you what to think, just think. And I don't feel there's a lot of thinking.
Exactly. That's the way it's got to be. It's got to be.
The thing is, I've got my opinion on the manager, but at the end of the day, obviously I support the club.
Exactly.
I don't support them. I support Arsenal Football Club.
Thousands of pounds on the season to
and when
both.
when he does eventually go, it will still be Arsenal Football Club. I go to, and I'll still be, I'll get behind the team. I'll get behind the signings
because we love it.
This is how it is, because that's what it's in you. Of course, you'll support the club.
We could do with a break, though. We could do with a break and go to matches.
Yeah.
No,
but
the thing is, better, man.
The thing is, though, I don't. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, and this guy could turn the corner next season, and we could win the Premiership. We could win this, win that. Fair enough. I just can't see it because the evidence leans far too much to failure than it does to success.
Yeah, I think so.
Semi-finals, quarter-finals. There's too much failure to prove me otherwise.
You know what he's got to do? He's got to get out of the traps pretty quickly like he did in 22-23.
He has to.
Unlike 22-23, he has to sustain it. Pretty much like Liverpool did. So he is going to be in a situation where it's difficult because the Champions League is now a massive... It's always been a big tournament, but we've shown in the last 2 seasons that we can manage the Champions League a lot better.
We've improved year on year.
Got to a quarter-final, got to a semi-final, and we've lost to good teams, really good teams. It hasn't been a poor team that's taken us out of the Champions League. We
sold ourselves short in the transfer market going into losing those games in hindsight as well.
So, but what we'll find next season, we've got to be even twice as good as we were last season. The Champions League, because
the fixture list to be interesting, won't it? Because if that's a tough fixture list, the first 10 games, the problem is now we're in a position where every single game's a cup final for Arsenal.
Yeah, it has to be.
There's no room for error now. We can't be drawing games at home against Brighton.
Every game's a cup final. Facts.
Every game we have to win all our own games. We've got to perform. We can't afford to drop points against the likes of Aston Villa, West Ham, teams like this.
There's no fussing about, pardon my language.
Because
Everton, home and away. You know what I mean?
Even the Arteta faithful, I will guarantee you, those that really look beyond and want success, even the Arteta faithful, if it goes wrong early start of the season, it will start to turn.
No, but they're not independent thinkers, man. The Arteta sexuals are not independent thinkers as much as they like. I agree with you, DJB, but
I'd like to think they're
just committed to loving the guy, bro.
I'd like to think in their heart they're Arsenal through and through.
No, I think we're gone beyond that. I think there's, I don't get me mistaken. I think there's some Arsenal fans that want Arteta gone, that love the club, obviously, and likewise that think, oh, Gaffer, what's going on? Likewise, I feel there's a middle ground where people might like or not like Arteta. They can see the good and the bad, but they're Arsenal fans. I genuinely think there's some people that there's committed. Arteta's my guy. That's all they meant. Because I clocked it when we beat Real Madrid. I saw a lot of people. The first thing they're saying is everyone that wants Arteta out. What are you talking about? Hang on, Real Madrid have just been battered by Arsenal. What's going on?
You're always going to get those kind of fans.
So they're not going to be vexed.
Yeah, but the thing is, they deny it though, because they always say, if you went up to someone who's predominantly behind Mikel, the first thing they'll say to you is that I'm not Arteta in. I just back my club. I back my manager.
Yeah, the gaslighting, and you're entitled and all that shit.
Yeah, but if you went up to them and said, all you have to do is say 2 words to them, Unai and Emery, and they change. They change. The guys who say, I back my club, I back my manager, they change. Every one of those guys who are Arteta fans, but say they back the club and they back the manager, you should hear the things they've said about Unai Emery. You don't have to prompt them. They'll just come out and you just can't stop them talking.
There's no PR. They let it loose with Emery.
There's no more excuses, though, is there? There's no more hiding now. There's no more excuses. If he gets the players in that he wants, there's no more excuses.
And I like
you can't keep blaming injuries. You can't keep blaming red cards. You can't keep blaming referees. This nonsense has got to stop. It's all got to stop. Because you don't hear it from other teams. You don't hear it from other teams where the only fan base. That's why no one likes us, because we're annoying. I find my fans annoying, and I'm an Arsenal fan. I find them really fucking annoying. Excuse my French. Do you know what I mean? They wind me up. I sit with them. I listen to them. They're all in the mirror. Go support Tottenham. Well, actually, they've won a European Cup.
They do that, you know.
Why would I go and support them?
Yeah, but the people tell you.
He's not lying. He's not lying.
People say that it's because they know they got buzzwords. But you got to remember one thing.
It's deflection.
Yeah, we got to remember one thing. Majority of our fans don't have a social media. They don't have a YouTube channel. They don't go on Twitter. The real fans and who are the majority, they probably never heard of us. They've never heard of Lee. They probably never heard of Robbie. They just go to the games and have a chat with their mates.
No, they never heard of Robbie. But I hear it.
No. What I said is they get sent things, but they ain't going to sit down.
Yeah. They're not going to be queuing up for an interview and shit. They're just going to the game and going home.
I go to home and away games, and I tell you, at home games, I recognise everyone, but in away games, some of the people I see at away games, I think, bloody hell. I've never seen you before in my life, but I know.
No one recognises it. No, it's the same as me. They
don't recognise me. They don't know who I am.
I'll be honest, away games are better than home games. Don't shoot me.
Oh, right, shut the real. Yeah, because the atmosphere, our away support.
Better, the fans, everything.
They're real fans.
They're away fans and Arsenal fans.
A lot of away fans are waiting to see what happens. Listen. I'll stand by it. Listen, this is nothing against Arteta. I don't, listen. I just feel, my opinion, that he had his chance last season. I thought last season was the season we had to win something, and when it didn't happen, I said it's time for a change, and I still stick by that. The fact that we're going into another season with this manager, I believe, is quite alarming, personally. I think he had his time last season. He had his squad. He built his squad. He got his players in. He got his Declan Rice in. He got everyone in there. He had his chance last season. And when he got to that semi-final of the Champions League, I'm thinking, show me something. This is it now. Show me something different. Show me what you
over the line, bro.
When we went to that second leg, we was only one down. We weren't 2 or 3. We were not talking about 3 goals. Yeah? Show me something. Show me what you can do, Mikel.
Get over the line.
And we couldn't produce it. We started throwing the ball long. We started pumping it 30 yards down the pitch.
And party long throws. Crazy.
There was no in-game management. And I'm thinking, no, this manager's done.
Gloves are off distance and make it happen.
We also had proof of the Newcastle game, semi-final. 2 legs, over 2 legs. Couldn't do it. And all of this is what I'm saying. There's too much evidence of failure with this manager than there is of success. And that's why he's had his time. The ceiling's reached. It's done. It's finished.
He's just got to prove people wrong, man. It's as simple as that.
I hope he does. Of course I do. I hope he does.
We hope he does, because we got parades in Islington that needs to happen in 2026 in some capacity. He's got to win.
That. The fact is that he's probably the most backed manager we've ever had in terms of
he earns 15 million a year.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that's
you're right.
9 out of 10. If you say, right, I've been a bit exaggerating, but if you say 7 out of 10 times, the reason why we haven't got the players in is because those players haven't wanted to come to the club. Like, for instance, people say that when I say that Arteta's always been backed by the board and he's always got what he wanted, what I meant is that it doesn't mean players sign him. It means he's got what he wanted in terms of support with the board and money provided. For instance, Casado, the money was there, just that Brighton wouldn't sell. Mudryk was ready to come to the club.
Got gazumped by Chelsea.
We couldn't give him match Chelsea's wages. So
but he's still backed. He still had the money. He still had the money there to go and do it.
You got to be able to pivot. That's why I'm looking at Burton now.
Yeah,
helping.
The money's there for was there for Declan Rice. It got him £100 million. Yeah, I mean, how can you say Arteta doesn't get backing when
65 for Kai, 30 odd for Marino? That's 90 odd club.
No club spends £100 million if they're not backing a manager.
We spent over 100 million on Declan Rice, club record. Has he not been backed?
A world-class 6 turned into an 8, which I'm a fan of.
And listen,
you can't act like he's not backed.
All we got to go is, I mean, I know time's getting on now, but All I'm saying is, by the end of this transfer window, this manager, in 5 years, in 6 going into his 6th year, he would have had
last 3
over
years
a billion pounds. Let that sink in. One manager, no major trophy, £1 billion.
Crazy.
That's all you need to know.
What are we going to say, lads?
What's happened is that a manager,
lost for words, really.
A manager normally has more than 6 years tops to turn it around and win trophies. He's now going to go into his 6th year. He's now going to go into his 7th year, and you know what? We still got success. Where is the cut-off point?
If nothing changes, whether that's recruitment, the manager, the way we work. If we keep doing the same things, we can't be upset that the same things are happening. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and the annoying thing is as well, when you did watch Liverpool win that Premier League, when you see that manager coming through the door, one signing in Chiesa, and he won the Premier League, and he was never really challenged, and then Spurs won a trophy, Crystal Palace won the FA Cup. And you're just thinking,
but when City fall off, we're going to be the ones to pounce.
This manager, whether you're in, whether you're out, whether you worship the ground he walks on, I don't care what you say. And the great man who ever played for this club even said it, Thierry Henry. He should have by now won at least a trophy.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a fact.
You can't deny that. He should have won a trophy.
In these last 3 years, we should have silverware.
We should have something. We should have something. Me and Kenny should have been dancing down the streets. Shouldn't we, Kenny? We should have been at Wembley. I should have been buying you a Ribena. And we should have been... I should have been buying you a Diet Coke or whatever you drink.
Well, one of them anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, mate. Me and Kenny in our Arsenal vest. And our hats, we should have been there, Kenny, shouldn't we, mate? We should have been there.
You don't laugh, you'll cry, man.
Exactly.
It is what it is, man. I'm conscious of time because I know DJB said he's got to be out of here by 7. So let's wrap up. DJB, Kenny Ken, let people know they can find you as usual, Unks. Appreciative to having you lot tuned in. Let people know they can find you.
It's been a blast. I can't believe we've spent 2 hours and 40 minutes on the stream.
Well, the season's off.
It's been amazing. Oh no, well, big up DG. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for your chat. Man. Whether they've, if you've agreed with us or not agreed with us, that's what it's all about. As long as it's fresh, as long as it's clean, that's all it's about. You can find me on the Arsenal Huddle. Or DJB, Arsenal Huddle. Come along. I'm starting to do my own thing, like do bits and pieces.
Follow the channel, folks. It's been posted.
Legends on, general chat, Arsenal, what's going on, stuff like that. Yeah, come along. It's all good, man. It's all good. Thank you very much, DG. And it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure sharing a screen. I think me and Kenny are joint at the hip now. We're on. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you very much, guys, and thanks for the chat. As always, bless.
Right, and Kenny, thanks for having me on. I've enjoyed every minute of the podcast. There's been the chat has been a lot better. There's a couple of there's one prat in there who's making personal comments.
Yeah,
all
of that people, man.
There's a couple, but they do say social media is free, isn't it? But
they wouldn't say it to your face, Kenny. He's a big guy as well. I would be very cautious about that. But...
when I was younger, people used to shout abuse out of cars, mate. So I'm sure there'll be people shout abuse at me out of cars. But this week
to do that.
DJB, I think I may see you Friday.
Yeah, you might see me Friday. Yeah, as far as I know, I'm still going on Friday, so that'll be good.
Question I need to ask you: how far is it from Stratford?
I don't know. I've not done the map work yet, Kenny. All I know is
they probably said you can either get a bus or walk from there.
Yeah, all I know.
People know what you're referring to.
All I know it's near Stratford.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that it's just what's it? The Monster Tap.
Yeah,
Monster Tap
Yeah, I don't know how far that is from Stratford. I haven't done the groundwork yet.
Probably about 5 minutes in a car, 20 on a bus or something.
Well, yeah, I think you could get a bus 308 from Stratford to
Right.
drops you straight outside there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to make my way there and
it's basically a Forest Gate E7.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's around the corner from Stratford, Forest Gate.
Yeah, it is.
All the same kind of.
It's just before West Ham.
Yeah.
I've got my Oyster card, mate. I've got my Oyster card. I've got me and my I think we've got about 5 between in the whole family.
Nice one.
I know. And we keep on losing it, that's why. Well, I don't lose
that. Make sure you got it registered, man.
Yeah. Fixtures come out soon, but don't forget.
Next Wednesday, they come out.
Next Wednesday, the fixtures. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, but.
So we've got something to speak about next week.
Yeah, but
mate, imagine when them fixtures come out, we're going to be like, oh, dear. This is what I'm saying.
Hot take Liverpool first day of the season.
I'll tell you one, guys. People who work in the media, present company excluded, will know the fixtures before they come out at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Exactly, DJ. Exactly.
People work in the media, DJ.
All I'm saying is, we're all getting stressed out about the thing. You know what I mean? We're all getting a bit stressed out.
24 hours before it comes out. People know who we're playing.
There was one guy who worked at Sky. Who works at Sky Sports. Was it an hour before the fixtures came out? He was telling everyone about how we got difficult. Our last 2 away games are difficult. Man United and Spurs. Spurs and Man United. So he gave it away.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what's ruined. Social media has ruined certain things about football, whether it's transfers, whether it's the fixture list, everything really and truly, man. Highlights to a degree as well. It is what it is, man. But
let's get these signings in first. Let's get the signings done.
Well, in Berto, we trust. I'm still going to trust you. It's looking dark, and everyone else is making moves. But
give me a year.
Yeah. Cheers, DG, man. Honestly, it's been a blast. Loved it.
I've enjoyed it.
Blast, man. It's always a blast. So people,
I've been distracted from the cricket.
Go on, Kenny. What you say?
I've been distracted from the cricket because it's a no contest.
Yeah, I know.
You lot go watch your cricket, man. People like, comment, subscribe.
T20 blast in a couple of weeks. Essex,
Middlesex.
You'll be enemies, man. I'm gonna pick whoever wins the first test or whatever you call it. That's who I'm supporting. I'm being a glory hunter in cricket. I'm not with all of.
As long as Essex smash up Kenny's Middlesex, I'll be happy.
Better not happen.
That's the only rivalry between me and Kenny is the cricket.
Yeah, man. Enemies, friends to enemies now, man.
No, but the thing is that I'd rather Essex than Surrey. I can't stand Surrey.
No, I don't like Kent, but there we go.
All right.
Anyway, guys.
Speak to you soon.
Speak to you all soon.
People, like, comment, subscribe, follow DJB and Kenny on the socials.
Yes, please.
Out, man.
Big up, my friend. Take care, guys.
Always appreciate
yourselves.
One
Take
love.
care.
Always